Chapter 3964. The peak of the dark pit demon mountain suddenly fell into silence. Only Yin Jiuling occasionally roared. The other 8 people looked at each other and saw a strong murderous intent in each other's eyes. If they wanted to leave alive, they had to get rid of the others. Interesting, really interesting. It's so interesting to be able to get rid of so many geniuses at once. I will use you as my stepping stone to break through to the godly emperor realm. Battle God Yuan grinned and his eyes were full of fighting spirit. At this time he was still fighting like a madman. His aura seemed to have reached a critical point. Lu Ming's aura was also extremely powerful and had reached a peak. However, no one made the first move. They were all on guard against each other, waiting for the others to make the first move so that they could reap the benefits. The scene was in a stalemate. Brr. At this time Yin Jiuling roared again and jumped into the pit, as if something in the pit was attracting him. However, when he jumped into the pit, there was another powerful aura that rushed out of the pit and forced Yin Jiuling out. This madman, I suggest that we make a move first and get rid of Yin Jiuling so that he won't cause any more trouble. What do you think? The young man from the Shura clan said. This person was called Xiao Moyun, and he had been eyeing Yin Jiuling since the beginning. Among the 9 people present, Lu Ming and Battle God Yuan were undoubtedly the strongest at the same level, but their cultivation was only at the quasi-emperor realm, so they were not the biggest threat to him. The biggest threat to him was Yin Jiuling. After all, Yin Jiuling was a candidate for the universe prodigy list. He was extremely powerful and was one of the top geniuses in the universe. His current cultivation was suppressed to the first godly emperor realm, just like him. He had no confidence to fight against Yin Jiuling, so he had to get rid of Yin Jiuling first. On the side, the others were also tempted. Their thoughts were similar to Xiao Moyun's. Kill? Xiao Moyun took the lead and condensed a Shura sword with his divine power. It broke through the void and slashed at Yin Jiuling. Brr. Yin Jiuling saw someone attacking him and roared, revealing a ferocious murderous intent. He pounced at Xiao Moyun with his sharp claws. Evil Yin Qi filled the air. Clang, clang. The sound of metal colliding rang out continuously. The 2 of them had exchanged more than 10 moves in an instant. Then a figure retreated, covered in blood. It was Xiao Moyun. After exchanging a few blows, he was injured. This made him extremely shocked. Yin Jiuling's strength was much stronger than he had imagined. Brr. Yin Jiuling roared and continued to attack Xiao Moyun. What are you waiting for? Xiao Moyun roared. However, none of the people on the side made a move. They all looked on coldly. It wouldn't be too late to let Yin Jiuling deal with Xiao Moyun first. Moreover, Xiao Moyun could consume a portion of Yin Jiuling's strength. Then they would deal with Yin Jiuling. In this way he could deal with the Xiao Moyun and Yin Jiuling at the same time. Of those who could make it this far, which one of them was simple? Xiao Moyun wanted to use the others to deal with Yin Jiuling first, but the others directly used him. All of you deserve to die. Xiao Moyun instantly guessed the thoughts of others and roared, but Yin Jiuling had already attacked him, so he could only do his best to resist. However, Yin Jiuling was too strong. He was originally a candidate of the universe prodigy list. After being possessed by the evil Yin energy, his battle strength became even stronger, and his attacks were crazily aggressive. Although Xiao Moyun was also a peerless monster, he wasn't qualified to be a candidate of the universe prodigy list. In a battle of the same level, his battle strength was weaker than Yin Jiuling's. He was completely at a disadvantage and was suppressed by Yin Jiuling. After more than 10 moves, Xiao Moyun was almost beheaded by Yin Jiuling. Although he narrowly avoided it, he was still seriously injured. Damn it, all of you deserve to die, then die together? Xiao Moyun knew that he couldn't escape, so he roared crazily. His body swelled rapidly and he was about to self-destruct. However, Yin Jiuling didn't seem to know and continued to rush over. His sharp claws pierced through Xiao Moyun's head. Boom. At this moment, Xiao Moyun's body suddenly exploded, and a terrifying force swept in all directions. However, Lu Ming, Battle God Yuan, and the others were already prepared. They had already retreated to the edge of the King Qing domain, and set up layers of defense in front of them, blocking the power of Xiao Moyun's self-destruction. Yin Jiuling was at the center of Xiao Moyun's self-destruction, so he suffered the most intense destructive impact. Yin Jiuling's figure retreated rapidly, and there were many hideous wounds on his body and black blood flowed out. However, in the pit Yin Qi was constantly attracted by Yin Jiuling, and it poured into his body. His wounds were quickly healing. The others' faces became solemn. This Yin Jiuling is not right. Could it be that he has gone mad? It's more terrifying than I imagined. Let's attack together and get rid of him first. It's best to attack together. The remaining few people were transmitting their voices to each other. The next moment, among the remaining 5 people, 4 rushed out at the same time and attacked Yin Jioling. There was still one person who didn't attack. Lu Ming and Battle God Yuanwen didn't attack either. However, when the 4 experts joined forces, their power was extremely shocking. Because each of these people was a peerless genius, and each of them had the combat strength of a divine Emperor realm expert. Yin Jioling roared and pounced on the 4 people. The 2 sides started a fierce battle. The 4 experts joined forces to fight Yin Jioling, and Yin Jioling suddenly fell into a disadvantage. He was hit continuously and there were several wounds on his body. Yin Jioling was injured by Xiao Moyun's self-destruction, and his combat strength wasn't at its peak. When the 4 experts saw that Yin Jioling was injured, their attacks became more violent. At the same time they were transmitting their voices to each other. Those 3 guys don't attack. Very well, after we kill Yin Jioling we will kill them and then the 4 of us will fight to determine the winner. What do you think? Okay, it depends on who can go out in the end. The 4 discussed secretly and their attacks were fierce. For a time Yin Jioling was in danger and there were more and more wounds on his body. Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he was considering whether to attack. Because the ancient secret skill left by the Bone Demon was with Yin Jioling, and he had to get it. But in the end Lu Ming still didn't attack. The current situation was very complicated, and it was better to preserve a little bit of strength. After more than 10 moves, Yin Jioling's situation became more critical. His body was tattered and it seemed that he was going to die at any time. Rumble. At this moment, there was a violent vibration from the bottom of the pit, and then, a strong Yin Qi rushed out of the pit. There were a few strands of Yin Qi in the Yin Qi. Chapter 3965. Among the Yin Qi there were a few strands of Yin Qi. These strands of Yin Qi seemed to be alive, like small snakes that were swimming around. This was a Yin energy that possessed spirituality. Originally, the dark pit would spew out dark Yin Qi with spirituality. Previously, Battle God Yuanwen and the others had been guarding here, waiting for the dark Yin Qi to come out. At this moment, seeing the Yin Qi spurt out, the people present were not too surprised. At this moment, being alive was more important than anything else. Only a few of them dashed forward and grabbed at the murderous aura. They were Lu Ming, Battle God Yuanwen, and Yin Jioling. Yin Jioling roared and rushed to the pit desperately. He opened his mouth and inhaled, and the Yin Qi rushed towards Yin Jioling. Lu Ming and Battle God Yuanwen's face changed. Swish. Lu Ming condensed a huge hand with his taboo power. With a grab, he caught a wisp of Yin Qi with spirituality in his hand. Battle God Yuanwen shot out 2 beams of light from his eyes. These 2 beams of light were like 2 chains, entangling the Yin Qi and collecting it. 4 strands of spiritual Yin Qi were collected by Lu Ming and Battle God Yuanwen, and the remaining 2 strands were sucked into Yin Jioling's mouth. However, Yin Jioling absorbed the Yin Qi wholeheartedly, but ignored his own defense, and was bombarded by the attacks of the 4 masters. Bang! Yin Jioling's body directly exploded into pieces. Only his head was left. It flew out and was wrapped in dense evil Yin Qi. At this moment, the Yin Qi that rushed out of the pit suddenly rolled back and fell back into the pit. Yin Jioling's head took the opportunity to rush into the Yin Qi, and with the Yin Qi, it rushed into the pit and disappeared in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. The 4 masters looked at each other with a pale face. Yin Jioling was forced to rush into the pit, and they didn't know whether he was dead or not. If it was someone else, they would be relieved because they would never return after rushing into the pit. But Yin Jioling had rushed down once before, but he came out safe and sound, so they were not confident. Who knew whether Yin Jioling was dead or not? Forget it, let's get rid of these 3 people first. Yes, Yin Jioling only has 1 head left and he is seriously injured. He probably won't survive. Let's get rid of them first and then we will decide the winner. The 4 masters transmitted their voices to each other, and they glanced at Lu Ming, Battle God Yuanwen and another middle-aged man. Let's join forces. The middle-aged man's face changed wildly and he quickly said. The reason why he didn't make a move before was that he wanted to sit on top of the mountain and watch the tigers fight, because he always felt that Yin Jioling was very strange and wouldn't be killed so easily. He didn't expect that Yin Jioling would be killed so easily. At this time when he saw the 4 masters looking at them he was shocked. It's too late. I'll send you to hell. 2 of the experts charged toward the middle-aged man while the other 2 charged toward Lu Ming and Battle God Yuanwen in a flash. One of them. They were confident enough. Although Lu Ming and Battle God Yuanwen were strong, they were all at the Divine Emperor realm. They could deal with Lu Ming and Battle God Yuanwen. Kill. Let's fight. Lu Ming and Battle God Yuan were fearless and they roared and attacked. One of them against one. The two sides collided in an instant, and they continued to attack each other. In the blink of an eye they had exchanged more than 10 moves. However, their opponents were indeed powerful. Although they were suppressed to the first godly emperor layer, they were still able to kill cultivators of the fourth godly emperor layer. Although Lu Ming tried his best, he was still at a disadvantage and he retreated quickly. On the other side, Battle God Yuan also retreated quickly, and he was also at a disadvantage. Sure enough, those who could step on the dark pit demon mountain weren't simple. They weren't much weaker than Yin Jiuling. As soon as Lu Ming retreated, the other party chased after him and continued to attack him. Explode! Lu Ming shouted and his whole body glowed. All the secret techniques turned into dazzling brilliance, covering Lu Ming's body. At the same time, the battle character formula increased his fighting strength by 6 times, and the Great Holy Wind technique and Great Shattering technique were activated to the extreme. Boom, boom, boom. Both sides exchanged more than 10 moves, and Lu Ming's chest was pierced by a sword chi. He coughed up blood and retreated. However, despite being injured, Lu Ming's eyes were still bright, and he had a firm and unyielding belief. There was only motivation when there was pressure. There was a sense of crisis and there was more motivation. At this moment he could not use his trump card and even Chiu could not move. He could only rely on himself. Lu Ming was excited because the opportunity to break through was getting more and more obvious. Previously, when he fought with Battle God Yuan, he felt the opportunity to break through. He felt that he was only a step away from breaking through. At this moment, facing the crisis, this feeling was even stronger. Fight, fight, let's fight to our heart's content. Come on, you don't seem to have any strength. Ah. On the other side, Battle God Yuan also laughed without a trace of fear. Instead, he was more excited. He also felt the opportunity to break through. At this moment, a shrill scream was heard. The middle-aged man, besieged by the two experts, screamed and died on the spot. After killing the middle-aged man, the two experts also pounced on Lu Ming and Battle God Yuan. In this way it became 2 against 1. Originally, Lu Ming was facing one of them and facing 2 of them was even more dangerous. Lu Ming's heart was pierced by a sword chi. Then a terrifying fist force hit his abdomen. Lu Ming flew out, vomiting blood, and his body almost exploded. However, the potential stored in Lu Ming's cells gushed out crazily, and his injury was quickly healing. Soon, just a little bit more. Lu Ming's eyes were bright and he was a little excited. In the face of a life and death crisis, his potential was stimulated to the extreme. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and took the initiative to attack the 2 experts. Bang! 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 After a series of collisions, Lu Ming was injured again and was forced to retreat. Let's kill him in one go. Kill! After injuring Lu Ming, the 2 experts unleashed their ultimate moves and attacked Lu Ming, wanting to kill Lu Ming completely. But at this moment, boom! A violent aura rushed out of Lu Ming's body, like a volcanic eruption, bringing with it a violent burst of energy. Breakthrough. At this moment, Lu Ming finally broke through and stepped into the Divine Emperor realm. At the moment of breaking through to the Divine Emperor realm, the potential stored in Lu Ming's cells was stimulated to the extreme, and all of it was transformed into Lu Ming's cultivation. Hungry. In an instant, Lu Ming was engulfed by endless hunger, as if he had not eaten for 100,000 years. Incomparable hunger was revealed in every cell. Let me absorb it. With a thought in Lu Ming's mind, piles of elven tree heart flew out, and the surging life essence madly converged towards Lu Ming. Chapter 3966. A large pile of elven wood hearts turned into surging waves of life essence and converged towards Lu Ming. Every cell in Lu Ming's body was crazily devouring and absorbing the life essence. Satisfaction. A sense of satisfaction spread throughout his body. Breakthrough. The 2 experts besieging Lu Ming were shocked. They did not expect that Lu Ming could break through under their joint attack. What kind of monster was he? Kill! We can't let him break through. One of them roared. Together with the other, they charged toward Lu Ming in a frenzy. When Lu Ming was still a quasi-emperor, his combat strength was already so terrifying. Once he broke through to the Divine Emperor realm, his combat strength would soar and he would definitely be far above them. They must not let Lu Ming break through. Once Lu Ming broke through, they would be the ones to die. The 2 experts exerted their full strength and launched 2 incomparably sharp and terrifying attacks towards Lu Ming's head. Kill! Lu Ming suddenly shouted and violent energy swept out from his body, forming a terrifying shockwave. The two experts were hit by the shockwave and their bodies shook violently as they retreated. Lu Ming seized the opportunity and continued to devour the life essence of the elven wood hearts crazily. Break for me. On the other side, battle god Yuanwen also roared and a terrifying aura burst out from his body. Breakthrough. Battle god Yuanwen also broke through at the critical moment under the joint attack of the two experts. Dazzling gems appeared on his body. These gems weren't divine gems, they were precious gems that contained rich and pure energy. These energies were like a great river that rushed into the battle god Yuanwen's mouth. The two experts were also shocked and wanted to attack battle god Yuanwen, but they were also repelled by him. Lu Ming and battle god Yuanwen broke through the shackles and entered the divine emperor realm one after another. Their aura became more and more terrifying. As for the four experts, their expressions were extremely ugly. Everyone, we have to go all out. If we don't, we'll be the ones to die. Go all out, kill. Burn. The four experts revealed a frenzied look. The divine power in their bodies burned like flames. They went all out. Regardless of the consequences, they burned their divine power and origin and charged toward Lu Ming and the battle god Yuanwen. They had to kill the two of them. At this moment, they were filled with regret. If they had known earlier, they would have killed Lu Ming and the battle god Yuanwen from the very beginning. Previously, the two of them were only quasi-emperors. Although they were excessively monstrous, they did not take them to heart. They were fully confident that they could suppress Lu Ming. Who would have thought that the two of them could break through to the divine emperor realm in the middle of the battle? Now the ones who will die are you. Lu Ming's eyes emitted an incomparably resplendent multicolored light. His entire body was shrouded in a fierce wind. Instead of retreating, he advanced and attacked the two experts. His palm was like a blade, shattering the void as he attacked continuously. Boom, boom. Lu Ming and the two experts exchanged blows, causing two violent explosions. Then two muffled groans could be heard. The two experts were pushed back violently as blood spurted out from their bodies. Cracks appeared on their bodies caused by the great shattering art. Blood flowed out from the cracks. After breaking through to the divine emperor realm, whether it was the great divine wind technique or the great shattering art, their power had increased tremendously. Moreover, Lu Ming had just broken through and had yet to gain a firm foothold in the divine emperor realm. Otherwise, he would have killed the two experts with that move. After all, the gap between the quasi-emperors and the divine emperors was huge. Once a breakthrough was made, one's combat strength would increase tremendously. Even so, Lu Ming's combat strength was above the two experts. Fight, fight, fight. On the other side, the battle god Yuanwen roared madly. His combat strength was unparalleled, causing the other two experts to vomit blood. How could this be? The four experts all revealed a panic-stricken expression. They were all geniuses of their generation and their future was limitless. They did not want to die here. Looking at Lu Ming's cold eyes, they felt chills all over their bodies. Brother, why don't you spare our lives? We can cooperate and leave this place together. One of the young men shouted at Lu Ming and begged for mercy. Lu Ming replied with a cold smile. They wanted to kill him when they had the upper hand. Now that they were no match for him, they wanted to cooperate. How could that be possible? Lu Ming was not an easy person to talk to. Lu Ming took a step forward and continued to force his way toward the two experts. It's not that easy to kill us. You'll have to pay the price too. Let's fight. The two experts saw that Lu Ming was not going to let them go. They looked ferocious and went all out to attack Lu Ming. However, no matter how hard they tried, their cultivation was suppressed to the first divine emperor realm. They were at the same level as Lu Ming. Even though Lu Ming had just broken through, they were still far from him. After a few attacks, their bodies were almost torn apart. A dozen of their bones were broken. Let's die together. One of them went crazy. His body swelled up as if he was going to explode. Lu Ming quickly retreated. Boom. A terrifying explosion sounded as the man exploded. A terrifying strength swept in all directions. The destructive strength was not only aimed at Lu Ming, but also at the others, including the battle god Yuanwen and the other two experts. The explosion of such an expert was indeed terrifying. Lu Ming had retreated in time, but he was still injured. His chest and abdomen were in tatters and many of his bones were broken. However, those injuries were nothing to Lu Ming. He was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. On the other hand, the expert who besieged Lu Ming together with this person was not so lucky. He was directly engulfed by the destructive power and was blasted into smithereens. At the same time, the two experts who were fighting against the battle god Yuanwen were slightly further away, so they were less affected. However, they were also seriously injured. The battle god Yuan was also injured, but his injuries were much lighter. Battle 18 strikes. The battle god Yuan did not care about his injuries at all. As soon as he retreated, he attacked again. His fingers were like swords as he attacked continuously. Poof. The two experts were already seriously injured and dispirited. At that moment they could not block the attacks of the battle god Yuan. They were directly killed by the battle god Yuan. Now, only Lu Ming and the battle god Yuan were left on the peak of the dark pit demon mountain. Haha, in the end only the two of us are left. Just nice, I can use you as a stepping stone to become an invincible king and break through the king realm. The battle god Yuan looked at Lu Ming, his battle intent was burning fiercely. At the same time, he was still absorbing the energy of the crystals to stabilize his divine emperor realm cultivation. Of course, Lu Ming was also absorbing the life essence of the elven wood heart to stabilize his cultivation. Chapter 3967. Your words are exactly what I want to say. You are a rare opponent. I will go all out to make my name as invincible. Lu Ming said. Aha, you have confidence and strength. I like it. Since you are about to die in my hands, I still don't know your name. I want to see when someone like you appeared in the universe. Battle god Yuan said. To be honest, he had some sympathy for Lu Ming. At his level, it was too difficult to find a real opponent. Mu Yun. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said the name Mu Yun. Mu Yun? Battle god Yuan revealed a thoughtful look and then said, not long ago, the person who was in an uproar with the elf princess Ling Yue was also called Mu Yun. Could it be you? That's right. Lu Ming nodded. So it's you. It seems that everyone has underestimated you. Battle god Yuan said. After saying this, the two fell into silence. However, their auras became stronger and stronger. Like waves, they met in the middle and collided fiercely. Boom. The collision of auras was like a stormy sea. In the next moment, two figures rushed towards each other. The two peerless monsters once again fought together, pushing their combat strength to the peak. Battle 18 strikes. Great God Wind technique, great shattering technique. Terrifying killing moves collided in the void. In an instant, the two had exchanged dozens of moves. After dozens of moves, the two retreated at the same time and stood on both sides of the pit, facing each other from a distance. The battle just now was still undecided. I really want to know what kind of power you control to be able to compete with my Battle Saint force? Battle god Yuan said, very curious. As long as you can defeat me, I will naturally tell you. Lu Ming said. Very well, my curiosity will soon be realized. Battle god Yuan was still very confident. For example, geniuses like Lu Ming and Battle god Yuan had almost swept away all their opponents along the way. They had never met a worthy opponent at the same level and had developed the belief of being invincible. Even if they met an opponent now, they still had the belief of being invincible and believed that they could defeat their opponent. Their auras burst forth and they were about to fight again. But at this moment there was another change in the pit. With a loud explosion, a gust of yin qi rushed out. Along with this wave of yin qi, a figure rushed out. This figure was actually Yin Jiuling. Previously, Yin Jiuling only had his head left and rushed into the pit. But now he had recovered and his body was intact. Furthermore, his aura was extremely terrifying. His entire body was covered in a dense murderous aura. It was possible to see the murderous aura slithering in and out of his mouth and nose like tiny snakes. His appearance was extremely strange. Kill. Yin Jiuling landed next to the sinkhole and immediately let out a roar. He clapped his palms consecutively and a strong evil aura rushed out of his palms, turning into two pitch-black pythons that bit toward Lu Ming and fighting god Yuan respectively. The yin qi whistled, bringing with it a terrifying might, giving Lu Ming a sense of crisis. Boom. Lu Ming's palm was like a knife, slashing with all his strength. It collided with the python's head and there was a violent explosion. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt a cold and terrifying force rushing towards Lu Ming. Even the forbidden force could not completely block it. Lu Ming's body retreated rapidly. A layer of black qi appeared on the surface of his body. This time, the black qi was extremely strange, as if it was going to corrode Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body shook and the forbidden force in his cells burst out, shaking off the black qi. On the other side, Battle God Yuan was not much better. He was also repelled by the python. No, Yin Jiuling's state is not right, Battle God Yuan shouted. He also found that Battle God Yuan's state was extremely strange, as if he was possessed by the devil. Moreover, in the King realm, their cultivation was suppressed to the first divine emperor layer. However, Yin Jiuling was extremely terrifying. He repelled Lu Ming and battle god Yuanwen with one move. Was Yin Jiuling so strong? Impossible. In the entire primitive universe, no one at the same level could defeat the two of them in one move. He is no longer Yin Jiuling. He has been possessed by the evil Yin Qi. Lu Ming said. He has been possessed by the evil Yin Qi with spiritual intelligence? Is there such a thing? No wonder he could come out alive after entering the sewer. Battle god Yuanwen suddenly realized. Yin Jiuling was no longer an ordinary creature. It could be said that he had evil Yin Qi so he could come out alive from the sewer. Die. While Lu Ming and battle god Yuanwen were talking, Yin Jiuling roared and launched an attack on Lu Ming and battle god Yuanwen. Yin Jiuling had swallowed a lot of evil Yin Qi in the sewer. Even if his cultivation was suppressed to the first divine emperor layer, he was still very terrifying. With a wave of his hand, the sky was full of evil Yin Qi. The dense evil Yin Qi between heaven and earth was also driven and turned into a terrifying attack, attacking battle god Yuanwen. He's mine. Battle god Yuanwen shouted. His body was shrouded in purple divine light as he attacked Yin Jiuling. He used his divine power to condense a purple halberd and used the halberd to perform the War 18 strikes, launching a fierce attack. The Battle 18 strikes of the Battle Saint tribe was an extremely terrifying secret technique. It could perfectly combine with the bloodline of the Battle Saint tribe, the Battle Saint body and the Battle Saint force of the Battle Saint tribe. It was very mysterious and there was no fixed technique. Every member of the Battle Saint tribe could practice it, but what they comprehended was different and the power was also very different. The Battle 18 strikes of the battle god Yuanwen was undoubtedly very powerful. When the halberd struck down, heaven and earth trembled. Yin Jiuling is my prey. I came here because I was chasing him. Lu Ming also shouted coldly. He jumped up and attacked Yin Jiuling. All kinds of secret runes in his cells shone and turned into a dazzling light, forming a mysterious attack power that crushed Yin Jiuling. Boom, boom. The three experts started a peak battle. In the battle domain, terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard. Fortunately, this scene was isolated by the Battle King domain. Otherwise, it would definitely shake the entire universe. At this moment, Yin Jiuling was so terrifying that it was a little strange. Lu Ming and battle god Yuanwen joined forces, but they could only suppress him by a little. If they were alone, they might not be his opponent. What exactly is this baleful Yin Qi that has its own consciousness? It's just a possession, how can it be so terrifying? Lu Ming secretly asked Bone Demon. He was really shocked. It was just a wisp of baleful Yin Qi that had its own consciousness, but it actually made Yin Jiuling so terrifying that he could fight against his taboo force and the battle saint force of battle god Yuanwen. It didn't make sense. Moreover, Lu Ming also thought of another problem. The Heavenly Palace asked everyone to collect the baleful Yin Qi to register. They definitely had to collect the baleful Yin Qi. This showed that the baleful Yin Qi was somewhat extraordinary. Chapter 3968. Even the Heavenly Palace was collecting Yin Qi with spirituality. What was the secret behind this? You're right. Once the Yin Qi has spirituality, it's very extraordinary. It's very likely that it's related to a terrifying place? Guamo said. What terrifying place? Lu Ming asked. Dark Universe. Guamo said. Dark Universe? What's that? Lu Ming was curious. He had never heard of a dark universe. As for what it is, you will definitely know when you become a heavenly soldier. You will most likely come into contact with it personally. Even if I explain it now, you won't understand. Guamo said. Lu Ming could only suppress the curiosity in his heart and continue to fight with Yin Jiuling. The three of them fought fiercely. However, Lu Ming and battle god Yuanwen teamed up and eventually gained the upper hand and slowly suppressed Yin Jiuling. Boom. After hundreds of moves, Lu Ming hit Yin Jiuling's head. Bang. A large part of Yin Jiuling's head exploded and was full of cracks. However, with the Yin Qi running, Yin Jiuling's head was quickly healing. However, there was still a bone bead that flew out from the place where it exploded. This was the bone bead left by Guamo, which sealed the ancient secret technique and other demon secret techniques. Previously, Guamo had sensed that the bone bead was in Yin Jiuling's left head. Therefore, Lu Ming specifically targeted Yin Jiuling's head. After hundreds of moves, Lu Ming finally seized the opportunity and blasted the bone bead out. The bone bead flew out and was caught by Lu Ming. Finally got it. Lu Ming showed a hint of joy and kept the bone bead in his storage ring. Yin Jiuling let out an angry roar. The yin qi around the pit was controlled by him and rushed toward Lu Ming and battle god Yuanwen like waves. The reason why Yin Jioling was so strong was related to the environment here. Around the Dark Pit Demon Mountain, especially the peak of the Dark Pit Demon Mountain, the yin qi was too strong. Yin Jioling was like a fish in water here and could exert 120% of his strength. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming and battle god Yuanwen unleashed their killer moves, breaking through the layers of yin qi and attacking Yin Jioling. The three of them started fighting again. The battle between the three grew more intense. In the blink of an eye, another 200 moves had been exchanged. At this point in the battle, the three of them were all covered in blood, all of them injured. Purple blood, bright red blood, pitch black blood. 3 types of blood spilled out. The 3 strongest demonic geniuses fought each other crazily. Boundless energy had already accumulated in this region. All of a sudden, the King Qing domain around the ditch shook violently. Outside, around Demon Mountain, many living beings who were watching suddenly became excited. The King realm is about to break. The cruel battle inside is about to end. Who will be able to come out alive? Is it the prodigy of the Azura clan or Yin Jioling? Or is it the battle god Yuanwen and that mysterious demon? I don't know what kind of cultivation level will be suppressed in the king's domain. If it's suppressed to the godly emperor layer, then the battle god Yuanwen and that mysterious genius will die. If that's really the case, then it's a pity. Those 2 peerless geniuses. The scene was filled with discussions. Many people were broadcasting the battle to the entire universe through the illusory divine jade. Countless people were watching the purple and red King Qing domain nervously. Many of the major clans were extremely nervous, because they had demonic geniuses inside. If they couldn't come out alive, it would be a great loss. Especially the Battle Saint tribe, they were the most nervous. The battle god Yuanwen's talent was too high. Even in the vast history of the Battle Saint tribe, he was one of the top geniuses. Once he reached the major success stage in the future, he would become a terrifying overlord of the universe, a character that could suppress an era. The strength of the Battle Saint tribe would also become stronger, suppressing the other top 10 tribes. If such a character died inside, it would be a pity. It would be an inestimable loss. Many of the major figures of the Battle Saint tribe were staring at the King Qing domain through the illusory divine jade. The Sun Moon clan, Azura clan and other clans were also doing the same. The King Qing domain vibrated more and more violently. Suddenly, with a loud boom, it exploded, turning into a rain of light and dissipating. When the King domain exploded, 3 figures flew out and continuously exchanged blows in the air. Boundless energy swept out in all directions, creating a terrifying scene. Someone is fighting. 3 people. Why are there 3 people? Didn't they say that only the strongest King realm cultivators could come out? The scene was in an uproar. Even the ancient existence of the Buddha clan was stunned. Obviously, he didn't expect such a situation. Generally speaking, only the strongest King realm cultivator could escape from the King Qing domain and become an invincible king. Why are there 3 people coming out now? Who are they? Many people stared at them. Slowly, the rain of light dissipated and they found out who the 3 people were. It's the battle god Yuanwen and Yin Jioling. The third one is that mysterious demonic genius. What a terrifying aura. The aura of the battle god Yuanwen and the mysterious demonic genius have both reached the divine emperor realm. They broke through in such a short time. What's even more astonishing is that they joined hands to fight against Yin Jioling. How can Yin Jioling be so terrifying? When the 3 people were discovered, the entire universe was astonished. First of all, the battle god Yuanwen and Lu Ming had broken through. Then the 2 of them joined hands to fight against Yin Jioling. That was even more astonishing. How could Yin Jioling be so strong? Damn it! Damn it! Shouted the strong cultivators of the Azura clan and the other clans. Their geniuses hadn't come out yet, so they must have died. Boom. At this moment, the aura on Yin Jioling's body suddenly became violent and rose rapidly. Without the suppression of the King Qing domain, his cultivation level was recovering. First godly emperor layer, second godly emperor layer, third godly emperor layer, fourth godly emperor layer. In a flash, Yin Jioling's cultivation level rose to the 4th godly emperor layer. Before, when the King Qing domain had just formed, Yin Jioling's cultivation level had only reached the 3rd godly emperor layer. Now he had broken through to the 3rd godly emperor layer. That kind of breakthrough speed was earth-shattering. After recovering his cultivation level, Yin Jioling's fighting strength had reached the peak. Die! Shouted Yin Jioling. He wanted to kill Lu Ming and the battle god Yuanwen in one fell swoop. Without the King Qing domain, you'll die. shouted the battle god Yuanwen. A purple golden halberd appeared in his hand. One could see that the end of the battle halberd was missing a corner. However, a terrifying aura erupted from the battle halberd. The violent aura directly split apart the battle god Yuanwen's shockwave that was rushing over. That was the trump card of the battle god Yuanwen. It was also his trump card. Whoosh! The purple golden halberd turned into a huge mountain and slashed towards Yin Jioling. At the same time, Lu Ming took out the Zephyr Bead. A scorching tornado swept towards Yin Jioling. Chapter 3969. Lu Ming and battle god Yuanwen used their weapons at the same time. The terrifying power of the two weapons instantly shrouded Yin Jioling. Yin Jioling roared and unleashed his full strength. Evil Yin Qi soared to the sky and fought against the two weapons. However, after Lu Ming and the battle god Yuanwen reached the Divine Emperor realm, the power that they could unleash when controlling the big killing weapon was stronger. After a series of collisions, Yin Jioling's protective Yin Qi was forcibly broken. His body was cut by the strong wind and was almost cut in half by the purple golden halberd. Yin Jioling's body was blasted back. Brr! Yin Jioling roared angrily. The rich sinister aura in the pit converged toward him. His injuries were recovering rapidly. He kept roaring and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He kept glancing at Lu Ming and the battle god Yuanwen with his tyrannical eyes. Die! Yin Jioling roared intermittently, then he turned around and left, turning into a stream of Yin Qi. In a flash, the space was broken and he disappeared in a blink of an eye. His speed was amazing. After all, Lu Ming and the battle god Yuanwen's cultivation were only at the first level of the Divine Emperor realm. They could only injure Yin Jioling by relying on the big killer weapon. However, in terms of speed they were far inferior. They could only watch Yin Jioling escape. Wait until my cultivation improves, then I will kill you with one hand, battle god Yuanwen said disdainfully. Then he looked at Lu Ming with a strong battle intent. Mu Yun, you changed your appearance because you don't want others to know. I won't tell anyone, but our battle is not over yet. We will fight next time. Battle god Yuanwen transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Then he turned around and went down the dark pit demon mountain. He had already obtained a wisp of evil Yin Qi, so he didn't need to stay here. Lu Ming smiled and didn't care. Why would he be afraid of others' challenge? To be honest, battle god Yuanwen was a very good opponent. Lu Ming had never met such an opponent. Having an opponent was a kind of pressure and also a kind of motivation that could promote him to keep moving forward. If you want to fight, I'm always ready. Lu Ming replied with a voice transmission and then went down the mountain from another direction. The purpose of this trip was finally completed. The ancient secret skill left by the bone demon and a wisp of evil Yin Qi with spirituality. Although the process was quite tortuous, it was a complete success. The next step was to go to the City of Heaven, where the dreamy heavenly palace was located. The dreamy heavenly palace was the real core of the dreamy heavenly palace. It was difficult for outsiders to go there. The Dream Sky City was an incomparably majestic and boundless ancient city. It was suspended in the starry sky of the universe, with the sun, moon, and stars revolving around it. One could see how huge it was. Lu Ming spent several months before he arrived at the Dream Sky City. He could not help marveling at the ancient city from afar. The dreamy heavenly palace was surrounded by the sun, moon, and stars. These sun, moon, and stars actually formed a formation. Once it was attacked, the astral formation would activate and unleash a devastating attack. In addition, the dreamy heavenly palace was shrouded in layers of multicolored light, which looked like a dream. There was only one gate in the dreamy heavenly palace. Lu Ming flew toward the gate. In front of the gate, there was a 300 million mile long avenue that extended all the way to the gate. From afar, one could see countless creatures walking on the avenue. Most of these creatures were in human form, but there were also many who revealed their true form. Some were as small as ants and some were as big as mountains. Fortunately, the avenue was big enough to accommodate these creatures no matter how big they were. It's really spectacular, Lu Ming exclaimed. When he approached the path, he felt a strong pressure acting on his body. In the dreamy heavenly palace, one couldn't fly, so Lu Ming could only land on the avenue and walk into the dreamy heavenly palace. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to walk 300 million miles even if they walked for a lifetime. Of course, they weren't ordinary people. Lu Ming took a step forward and moved 100 miles away. His figure was like a ray of light as he walked toward the gate. In fact, the others seemed to be walking, but their speed wasn't slow at all. Therefore it looked normal. Even so, Lu Ming walked for a full day before he walked through the avenue and entered the city gate. Behind the city gate there wasn't any avenue, but a huge platform. The platform was very high, and standing on the platform, one could see the bustling streets and various ancient buildings in the distance. Come, the dreams sail to the Aquamoon Heavenly Palace, only 10 Emperor-level divine pills per person. Go to the dreams sail to the number 1 auction house in Sky City, 15 Emperor-level divine pills per person. Those who want to register for the Heavenly Soldier competition, go to the registration area, 10 Emperor-level divine pills per person. As soon as Lu Ming stepped onto the platform, he heard shouts and shouts. It turned out that on the platform there were sailboats floating in the air. So we need to ride these sailboats. Lu Ming was enlightened. Indeed, the Dream Sky City was too big and one couldn't fly. It would take a long time to go from one place to another no matter how fast one was. And this kind of dream sail could fly at an extremely fast speed. Therefore, most people would ride this kind of dream sail. However, the price was too expensive, starting from Emperor-level divine pills. Emperor-level divine pellets were useful for divine emperors. Moreover, there were 10 of them at once. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to afford it. But here one had to ride it even if they didn't want to. If they walked they would die. Lu Ming stepped forward and came under one of the dream sails. The dream sail was very big, at least 10,000 people could ride it at once. Brother, you're too big. Can you please shrink a little? Under the dream sail, a bearded man said to an elephant whose body was as white as jade. This elephant was 10,000 zhang tall, so it was too big to fit into the dream sail. Okay. The white jade elephant nodded and shrunk into its human form. Then it handed over 10 Emperor-level divine pills and boarded the dream sail. Little brother, 10 Emperor-level divine pills, go to the registration area of the Heavenly Soldier. Then the bearded middle-aged man stopped Lu Ming. Here. Lu Ming took out 10 Emperor-level divine pills and gave them to the man. Lu Ming had killed many divine emperors, so he still had some Emperor-level divine pills on him. Haha, please, I hope you pass the assessment and become a Heavenly Soldier. The burly man with a full beard smiled and let Lu Ming board the dream sail. After boarding the dream sail, Lu Ming found a place to sit down and closed his eyes to rest. Set sail. About 2 hours later, a shout came out, and the dream sail was covered with a layer of white light. With a swoosh, it rushed out 100 times faster than walking. Chapter 3970. Lu Ming stood up and watched from the side of the dream sail. On the dream sail, the scenery of Dream Sky City was unobstructed. He could see that the streets below were crisscrossing, and it was very prosperous. No one was flying in the sky. There were only other dream sails sailing in the sky like giant birds, going back and forth to various parts of Dream Sky City. That's the angel race. And the one full of blood chi is the blood race. The Buddha race. Lu Ming swept his gaze across and saw various clans on the streets below. He even saw many of the top 10 clans. Dream Sky City was indeed the heavenly city of the Dream Sky Heavenly Palace. It gathered the elites of various races in the universe, and many of them permanently settled in Dream Sky City. On the dream sail, many people like Lu Ming had come to Dream Sky City for the first time. They stood on the dream sail and looked around curiously. The dream sail was very fast, but Dream Sky City was just too big. Even with the dream sail speed, it still took an entire day to reach the registration area for the Divine Soldier. The registration place was in front of a majestic palace. At the moment it was already crowded. There were no less than thousands of people. In front of the palace there were 9 light doors. In front of the doors, some elites in armor were checking and registering. We've arrived at the registration place. You can disembark, the bearded man said. Everyone nodded and jumped down from the dream sail. They landed in front of the palace, then walked to the 9 light doors and began to line up. Lu Ming also walked to a light door and began to line up. At the same time he looked around. A young man walked up to a few experts in armor and registered their names. Then he took out a storage ring. A strand of baleful yin chi flew out from the storage ring. It was a baleful yin chi that had its own spirituality. One of the armored experts nodded and put away the wisp of baleful yin chi. Then another person took out a jade tablet and handed it to the young man. Enter the light door and be tested. A burly man in armor said. These armored men were the heavenly soldiers of the heavenly palace. The young man seemed a little nervous and hesitant. In the end, he clenched his teeth and stepped into the glowing door. When this person walked into the door of light suddenly emitted a dazzling light. How dare you? How dare you deceive the heavenly palace? You deserve death. A heavenly soldier shouted. His aura was wild and his killing intent was like a knife. I'm innocent. The baleful Qi was indeed obtained by me. The young man's expression changed drastically as he roared. Presumptuous. How dare you quibble? These 9 light gates were created by the heavenly palace, who was proficient in the art of divination. As long as you step into the light gate, as long as you don't personally obtain the evil Qi, the light gate can be divined. You've committed a crime upon a crime. A heavenly soldier shouted. Plop. The young man knelt down. His face was deathly pale as he shouted, Please spare my life. Master, please spare my life. I was confused for a moment. It's my first offense, please spare my life. The heavenly palace has already informed us, but you still want to deceive the heavenly palace. Unforgivable. Shouted the heavenly soldier coldly. Swish. When the young man saw that the heavenly soldier wasn't going to spare him, he turned into a beam of light and ran away. Without a doubt, this young man was also a top genius. He had already broken through to the 3rd godly emperor layer. He was extremely strong. He used his full strength and his speed was astonishing. You want to die? Said a middle-aged heavenly soldier coldly. He raised his spear and threw it at the young man. Whoosh. A spear silhouette streaked across the sky and moved as fast as lightning towards the young man. Shouted the young man furiously. He used all his strength to resist, but it was all in vain. His attacks and defenses couldn't withstand a single attack from the middle-aged heavenly soldier. Slash. The young man's head was pierced through and he died. Someone come and take him away, said the middle-aged heavenly soldier coldly. Someone immediately came and took the young man's corpse away. How strong. Many people were astonished. That middle-aged heavenly soldier looked ordinary, but he was terrifyingly strong. He was at least at the top of the godly emperor layer. I heard that when one first becomes a celestial soldier, the celestial palace will bestow rewards. Everyone will reap great benefits and their strength will soar. In addition, by participating in various missions in the celestial soldier, one can obtain large amounts of rewards and rapidly increase one's strength. Indeed, the heavenly palace has the best resources in the universe. No other clan can compete with them. I can't wait. Many people were astonished, but at the same time they were whispering to each other. The heavenly palace had unimaginable resources. If you practiced in the heavenly palace, your cultivation would increase quickly. That was why so many geniuses wanted to join the heavenly palace and become heavenly soldiers. Even the top 10 clans had many geniuses who could become heavenly soldiers. That was because even the top 10 clans did not have as many resources as the heavenly palace. I'll say it one last time. If you didn't get the dark Qi by yourself but bought it or given it by someone else or even an elder, please leave now. The heavenly palace will not pursue the matter. However, if you're discovered after registration, you'll be sentenced to death, shouted the middle-aged heavenly soldier. Many people were astonished, but no one left. In fact, there were very few people who thought they were lucky. That was because history had already taught them a lesson. No one could deceive the heavenly palace. Those who thought they were lucky and tried to get away with it all ended up in a miserable state. Every time there were very few people who thought they were lucky. Most of the time there was no one. This time one of them was discovered. He was lucky. The registration process continued, and no one was found who tried to get away with it. Bone Demon, can that gate find out that I have a forbidden body? Lu Ming secretly asked Bone Demon. A forbidden body was a great enemy of the heavenly palace. If it was discovered, Lu Ming would be in trouble. To be honest, sneaking into the heavenly palace was like entering a tiger's den. Lu Ming was still a little nervous. Although Fei Huang told him that it was fine. Don't worry. A forbidden body can't be seen on the surface. Even the forbidden power can't be seen. On the surface, it's no different from other divine powers. Only those who have come into contact with your taboo energy will be able to sense it. So don't worry, said Bone Demon. Lu Ming nodded and felt slightly relieved. Soon it was Lu Ming's turn. What's your name? Where are you from? Which force are you from? Asked a heavenly soldier. Mu Yun from the Fengdu Sword sect of the Iron Sea Star Zone, replied Lu Ming. He's Mu Yun? When the surrounding people heard Lu Ming's name, they were all shocked and looked at Lu Ming curiously. Because of Ling Yue, Lu Ming could be said to have become a famous person in the universe. Chapter 3971. Many people were secretly sizing up Lu Ming, especially some of the young geniuses. Their eyes were filled with intense hostility. Ling Yuwei was one of the 20 Pearls of the universe and the princess of the elf clan. There were many people pursuing her, including countless divine emperor realm geniuses. And now the relationship between Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei had been made public. Who knew how many people wanted to make a move against him? Lu Ming looked down as if he didn't care. There was nothing he could do. Ever since he had Ling Yuwei as his fiancée, he had expected this to happen. However, Lu Ming had never been afraid of challenges from others. If he really couldn't avoid it, then so be it. He would just treat it as a form of training. However, the heavenly soldier was expressionless, as if he had never heard of Lu Ming's name. He took out a jade tablet and registered it. I hope the information you said is true. You should know that the Heavenly Palace will thoroughly investigate your background. The heavenly soldier reminded him. Of course. Lu Ming nodded. This was the reason why he joined the Fengdu sword sect. Where's the spiritual baleful Yin Qi? Take it out. Another heavenly soldier said. Lu Ming took out the baleful Yin Qi. The other party checked it for a moment and kept it. Then the heavenly soldier from before handed the jade tablet to Lu Ming. Enter the gate of light. Only by passing through the gate of light can you proceed to the next round of the examination. The heavenly soldier said. Lu Ming took the jade token and stepped into the door of light. There was no reaction from the door of light. Since there was no reaction, he had passed. You've registered successfully. Come with me. Behind the gate of light, another heavenly soldier said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and followed the heavenly soldier into the palace. After passing through the palace, there was a huge plaza behind it. The plaza was huge. At this moment there were already a lot of people in the plaza. You've only registered successfully. If you want to become a heavenly soldier, you still need to go through a few rounds of assessment. I don't know what the specific assessment is yet. Just wait here. When it's time for your assessment, someone will naturally call you. The heavenly soldier said. Thank you. Lu Ming cupped his fist. The celestial soldier nodded and left. Lu Ming found a random place to sit down and wait. Not long after, an old man in a snow-white robe and a jade crown flew over. The heavenly official is here. Looks like someone else has a mission. Someone whispered. Many people looked at the sky official. Every time the sky official came, he would announce a few people to take part in the examination. Not everyone would participate in the examination together. Furthermore, the contents of the examination would be different for many people. Meng Jia of the Iron Armor clan, Shen Fei of the Feiyuan clan. The 12 of you follow me to participate in the assessment. Sky official rode. Immediately 12 people stepped forward. The majority of these 12 people were young, but there were also a few middle-aged burly men or old men. The sky official waved his hand, and a beam of light swept up the 12 people and left. In Dream Sky City, the heavenly officials and heavenly soldiers were naturally able to fly. If they couldn't fly, how could they carry out their mission? The sky official took 12 people away. Not long after, another heavenly official arrived and took away 12 people. In this way, another heavenly official would come and take away a group of people. Not all 12 people were taken away. Sometimes 15 people were taken away, sometimes over 100. The number was uncertain. Lu Ming roughly understood that the Heavenly Palace's examination was divided into many missions. Each group of people would complete one mission. Lu Ming waited patiently. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The people in the square came and went and came again. Finally, Iron Sea Star Zone's Fengdu Sword Sect's Mu Yun, Zing Race's Zi Meng. The 12 of you follow me to complete the examination. A white-haired heavenly official announced. It's finally my turn. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. 11 other people also stepped forward. The white-haired heavenly official waved his hand, and a beam of energy swept up Lu Ming's group and took them in a certain direction. On the way, Lu Ming's group of 12 people looked at each other. Among them, there were 7 young people who looked like they were in their 20s. There were men and women. Among the other 5, there were 3 middle-aged men and 2 old men. Their cultivation levels aren't low. Lu Ming looked at them and realized that their cultivation levels were very high. Apart from him, the weakest one had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer. The strongest one was an old man. He didn't release his chi, so he couldn't guess. But he had to have the strength of the 6th godly emperor layer. He had the lowest cultivation level, the 1st godly emperor layer. The others glanced at Lu Ming, but they just glanced at him and didn't pay him any attention. Even though Mu Yun was famous in the universe, the real strong cultivators didn't take him seriously. After all, back then Lu Ming had only been a quasi-emperor layer cultivator. Now, it seemed that even though Lu Ming had broken through to the godly emperor layer, he had just broken through to the first godly emperor layer. They weren't ordinary people, so they didn't take a cultivator of the first godly emperor layer seriously. They glanced at each other and tried to remember each other's faces. After a short time they arrived in front of a wormhole. They stepped into the wormhole and in the next moment they arrived on a planet with life. "Alright, now I'll announce your tasks," said the sky official. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts and began to listen attentively. This is the group of Flying Cloud Star Area. The group of Flying Cloud Star Area is controlled by two influential groups, the Flying Star Sect and the Moon Cloud Pavilion. However, the Heavenly Palace has found out that the Flying Star Sect doesn't respect the Heavenly Palace. They might be in contact with rebels. Therefore, your task is to help the Moon Cloud Pavilion destroy the Flying Star Sect," said the sky official. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Everybody was astonished. Their task was to destroy a powerful influential group of the universe. What made them even more confused was that the reason for destroying the Flying Star Sect was that they didn't respect the Heavenly Palace and were in contact with rebels. What was a rebel? Wasn't the primitive universe under the control of the Heavenly Palace? It was the era of the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace was supreme. How could there be rebels? It seemed like there were many secrets in the primitive universe. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and thoughts flashed across his mind. He knew some secrets. The Heavenly Palace was not without enemies such as the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, the Dragon Clan, and especially the family of Xian Yanqing's previous life, the Flying Phoenix Clan, and others seemed to be enemies. Who was the rebel the sky official was talking about? Was it the Tang clan that supported Xian Yanqing? Or was it someone else? "Master Sky Official, how strong is the Flying Star Sect? What's the cultivation level of their strongest cultivator?" asked an old man respectfully. "I know you want to ask. The Flying Star Sect is quite strong. The Patriarch is a cultivator of the 9th Godly Emperor layer. Below him, there are more than a dozen cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer," said the sky official. Chapter 3972. The sky official's words caused everyone to pale. There are cultivators of the 9th Godly Emperor layer. There are more than a dozen cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer, shouted a few people. The others pulled long faces. How could they kill a cultivator of the 8th or 9th Godly Emperor layer? How could they kill him? Lu Ming was the only one who looked calm. "I didn't ask you to go to the Flying Star Sect and destroy them. I asked you to help the Yunhua Pavilion destroy the Flying Star Sect. The Yunhua Pavilion isn't much weaker than the Flying Star Sect. They also have cultivators of the 9th Godly Emperor layer," said the Tian official. Only then did everyone relax. The Yunhua Pavilion also had cultivators of the 9th Godly Emperor layer. "You have 1 year. You must complete the mission within 1 year. Also, only 2 of the 12 of you can pass the test. The 2 of you who have contributed the most and performed the best will pass the test. The rest will be eliminated," said the Tian official. Everybody's expression changed drastically. The 12 of them had to destroy the Flying Star Sect within 1 year. Even if they managed to destroy the Flying Star Sect, only the 2 who had contributed the most would be able to finish the task. That way the task would be much more difficult. Not only did they have to destroy the Flying Star Sect, but they also had to compete with each other. The 12 of them glanced at each other. Some of them looked murderous. Nobody knew what they were thinking. "Alright, I'll take you to the Yunhua Pavilion." Heavenly Official Path then led Lu Ming and the 12 of them to break the void and leave. The Sky Official's cultivation base was terrifyingly profound, surpassing the God Emperor level at the very least. With the 12 of them he was able to break through the void. Before long they arrived at an enormous planet. As soon as they arrived, a group of people flew out to welcome them. "Welcome, emissaries from the Heavenly Palace." A middle-aged man leading a group of people bowed and saluted. That middle-aged man's chi was extremely powerful. He was the leader of the Yunhua Pavilion, a cultivator of the 9th Godly Emperor layer. However, that cultivator of the 9th Godly Emperor layer was extremely respectful in front of the Sky Official, like a little puppy. The Tian official said expressionlessly, "Take these 12 people with you. They'll help you destroy the Flying Star Sect." "Roger." The Pavilion Master of the Pavilion of Clouds and Rain said respectfully. The Sky Official nodded. He turned around and took a step forward. The void rippled and his figure disappeared. "Everyone please follow me and stay here. We'll discuss the matter of dealing with the Flying Star Sect another day." Of course he was not as respectful as he was to the Sky Official, but he was still polite. Everyone followed the Yunue Pavilion Master and the others into the planet below. They arrived at a palace and stayed there temporarily. Yunue Pavilion in the Great Meeting Hall. The Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion and some other upper echelons of the Yunue Pavilion were gathered together for a meeting. Leader, the Heavenly Palace only sent 12 people. The strongest one among them only has the strength of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. Most of them have the strength of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and even the 1st Godly Emperor layer. How could they destroy the Flying Star sect? Indeed, I don't think we can defeat a cultivator of the 8th Godly Emperor layer. We've been fighting against the Flying Star sect for a while now, and we're at a disadvantage. Many people in the Yunue Pavilion were complaining. Don't underestimate those people, said the Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion. Everybody quieted down. The Heavenly Palace is recruiting celestial soldiers now. Those people must have signed up for the exam, said the Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion. Leader, you mean there are some incredible geniuses among them? Asked someone. That's right. Anyone who signs up for the Heavenly Soldier Assessment is not weak. Even the older ones have strong combat strength. Cultivation is not the only criterion. Since the Heavenly Palace sent them here, they must think that there is someone who can help us destroy the Flying Stars sect. Otherwise they would not have sent them here. The Heavenly Palace must have paid special attention to the people they send. Don't underestimate any of those 12 people, said the Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion. Yes. Everybody nodded. In the Yunue Pavilion, Lu Ming took out some weapons and gave them to Qiu. Qiu had a huge appetite. Every once in a while, it would eat a batch of weapons or high-level metal materials. After feeding Qiu, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and focused on cultivating. He had just broken through to the Divine Emperor realm. He had to make the best use of his time to stabilize his cultivation. The day passed quickly. On the second day, the Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion summoned them for a meeting. Everyone, the strength of the Yunue Pavilion and the Flying Star sect are about the same. In terms of high-end combat strength, we are slightly weaker than them. However, I believe that with everyone's help, we will be able to destroy the Flying Star sect very quickly, said the Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion. Everybody nodded. They knew that the Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion was just being polite. As expected, the Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion continued. The main battlefield between the Yunue Pavilion and the Flying Star sect will be the Flying Cloud Continent. That is a continent floating in the void. However, now is not the time for a decisive battle. We need to take over a few important planets of the Flying Star sect. These places all have wormholes. Once we take over these places, the Flying Star sect's flexibility will be greatly reduced. What do you want us to do, Pavilion Master? Asked an old man from the group of 12. He had the strength of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. He was the strongest cultivator among Lu Ming's group. Alright, I will split you up. You will go to those important places and cooperate with the Yunue Pavilion. We will take those places, said the Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion. Everybody nodded. They had no objections. Very quickly, the Pavilion Master of the Yunue Pavilion divided them into 6 groups of 2 and they went to 6 different places. Lu Ming and a young man in blue clothes were in the same group. The young man glanced at Lu Ming indifferently. He didn't take Lu Ming seriously. On the contrary, he was happy. Lu Ming was in the same group as him, so Lu Ming couldn't compete with him. He had heard of Mu Yun. Even though Mu Yun was a terrifying cultivator, he wasn't weak either. He had already broken through to the top of the 4th Godly Emperor layer. He could fight against ordinary cultivators of the 5th Godly Emperor layer. Lu Ming only had the strength of the 1st Godly Emperor layer, so he didn't take him seriously. After splitting up, there were naturally people who would lead them out. Lu Ming and the others were going to a place called Kuandong Planet. The Yunue Pavilion had an army there. Lu Ming and the young man in blue clothes went through a wormhole and arrived on Kuandong Planet. On the way, Lu Ming learned the young man's name. His name was Su Yi and he was from the Heavenly Eagles clan. The Heavenly Eagles clan was ranked 137th in the list of the 10,000 clans of ancient desolation. Su Yi was also a famous genius of the Heavenly Eagles clan. He was a godly emperor and could fight against cultivators of higher cultivation levels. He was extremely talented. Chapter 3973. As soon as Lu Ming and Su Yi arrived at Kuandong Planet, they saw a general in armor leading an army to welcome them. The two of them were welcomed into a military camp. Brother Su, please have a seat. The general in armor was called Brother Hao. He was very polite to Su Yi and led him to the seat of honor. However, he was much colder to Lu Ming. Su Yi had the strength of the top of the fourth godly emperor layer, and he looked very young. He was definitely a genius. Such a person would be very beneficial to Kuandong planet. However, Lu Ming was only at the first level of the divine emperor realm. In their opinion, he was dispensable. He would not be of any help to the battle on Kuandong planet. He didn't understand why the Heavenly Palace had sent a cultivator of the first godly emperor layer to Kuandong planet. He was just a hindrance. Of course, he could only suppress these doubts and dissatisfaction in his heart. He did not dare to voice them out. However, he could not help but express his dissatisfaction through his actions. For example, he was not very enthusiastic towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming noticed that, but he didn't take it to heart. He just sat down and drank. "Brother Hao, what's the situation on Kuandong planet?" Su Yi casually sat at the head of the table and asked. Then a beautiful maid poured wine for him. The east side of Kuandong planet is occupied by the Yunhue Pavilion and the west side is occupied by the Feixing sect. But the most important wormhole is in the west. We've attacked it a few times but we haven't been able to take it, said Brother Hao. What kind of strong cultivators do they have? Asui. They have 2 cultivators of the top of the 5th godly emperor layer. They're very strong. We only have 2 cultivators of the top of the 5th godly emperor layer. We don't have the advantage. The other strong cultivators are fighting everywhere, especially in Feiyun. It's difficult to send them out, said Brother Hao. Only the top of the 5th godly emperor layer? That's easy. After Su Yi heard this, he revealed a confident expression. Brother Hao's eyes twinkled. Do you have a solution? Of course, if they only have the strength of the 5th godly emperor layer, I'm strong enough to fight against them, Su Yi said proudly. Brother Hao was amazed and said, Prince Su Yi only has the strength of the 4th godly emperor layer, but he can compete with cultivators of the 5th godly emperor layer. I wouldn't dare. Of course that's not enough. I have a secret treasure that can injure cultivators of the 5th godly emperor layer. With that, I can kill cultivators of the 5th godly emperor layer as easily as killing chickens. Su Yi said he didn't dare, but he looked very proud of himself. At the same time, he said he had a trump card which could only be used once. It could injure cultivators of the 5th godly emperor layer. Hearing that, the smile on Brother Hao's face grew wider. At the side, the others also flattered Su Yi. From beginning to end, they had neglected Lu Ming. A cultivator of the 1st godly emperor layer couldn't do anything. Besides, he couldn't become a celestial soldier, so why should they care? It's not the right time to attack. We'll wait for the Pavilion Master's order. As soon as the Pavilion Master gives the order, we'll immediately launch an attack and take down the entire Kuandong planet in one fell swoop, Brother Hao said. Su Yi nodded and ended the meeting. Lu Ming didn't say anything. He just sat there and slowly sipped his wine. To be honest, the wine was really good. Lu Ming couldn't help but drink a few more cups. Brother Hao and the others disdained Lu Ming even more. They thought that Lu Ming knew that he was weak, so he didn't say anything. After the meeting, Lu Ming went back to his room and sat down cross-legged. A bone pearl appeared in his hand. That bone pearl was the container that Guemo used to seal the ancient secret skills and other secret skills of the demon path. Before, Lu Ming was in a hurry, so he didn't have time to open it. Now he had time to open it. According to Gumo's instructions, Lu Ming used a special talisman to inject it into the bone pearl. After a short time, the bone pearl emitted dazzling lights. Then talismans flew out of it. There were at least a few hundred talismans. Most of them were black talismans, but one of them was black gold in color. It was very eye-catching. Lu Ming grabbed the black gold jade talisman with his hand and sank his spiritual sense into it. One of the 3,000 ancient secret skills, the Great Demonic Sword Technique. Lu Ming whispered, but to be honest he was a little disappointed. The Great Demonic Sword Technique was also an offensive secret skill. However, Lu Ming already had the Great Shattering Technique and the Great God Wind Technique. Another one wouldn't be of much help to him. However, he still had to cultivate. No matter what kind of secret skill it was, Lu Ming had to cultivate it. This was to lay the foundation for his future. However, it wasn't easy to cultivate the ancient secret skill. Lu Ming planned to find a chance to cultivate it later. Lu Ming memorized the Great Demonic Sword Technique and then looked at the other secret skills. There were more than 300 demon secret skills. Moreover, Lu Ming hadn't cultivated many demon secret skills before. Therefore, there were 300 demon secret skills that Lu Ming hadn't cultivated before. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He collected all of them and would cultivate them when he had time. After collecting them, Lu Ming took out some elvenwood hearts and began to absorb them to strengthen his foundation. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. After a month of cultivation, Lu Ming's cultivation level was completely stabilized. He had completely stabilized at the first godly emperor layer. Compared to when I just broke through, my strength has increased by 50%. Lu Ming smiled. When he fought against Yin Jiuling in the dark pit demon mountain, he had just broken through and his strength hadn't reached the peak yet. Now his cultivation level had completely stabilized and his strength had reached the peak. He was 50% stronger than when he was in the dark pit demon mountain. Now he was confident that he wouldn't be so embarrassed if he fought against Yin Jiuling again. He alone was enough to fight against him. He didn't need to team up with fighting god Yuan Wen. After stabilizing his cultivation level, Lu Ming planned to start cultivating the demon's secret skills. However, at this time, Lu Ming received news from Brother Hao that they were about to launch an attack. He could only cultivate the secret skills later. Lu Ming left his residence and went to the barracks with Su Yi to set off with the army. This time, we have the help of the emissary of the Heavenly Palace. We will definitely destroy the Flying Star sect. Now let's go and take Kuandong Star. Brother Hao shouted. Victory! At least 100,000 soldiers shouted. Swoosh! The 100,000 soldiers were all experts. They turned into rainbow lights and flew to the west of Kuandong Star. It was a very spectacular sight. They were very fast and soon arrived at the west of Kuandong Star. However, there was a strong divine light flickering in front of them, illuminating the starry sky. In front of them there was a large army blocking their way. This army was naturally the army of the Flying Star sect. They had already known that the Yunue Pavilion was about to attack and had made defensive preparations in advance. Chapter 3974. The Flying Star sect's army was lined up neatly, blotting out the sky and blotting out the earth. There were at least 100,000 of them. The two armies hadn't even collided yet, but their terrifying chi had already collided. Boom! The atmosphere shook violently as a terrifying crack appeared in the sky. It looked like a ferocious mouth had appeared in the sky. Die! Destroy the Flying Star sect! Shouted Brother Hao furiously. He took the lead and charged towards the Flying Star sect's army. Die! Shouted the Yunue Pavilion's army. All sorts of godly lights dazzled as all sorts of weapons rose up in the air. In the end, they turned into a terrifying force and moved towards the Flying Star sect's army. However, the Flying Star sect's army also released all sorts of attacks and collided with the Yunue Pavilion's army. After a series of explosions, the distance between the two armies was reduced. Horrible shrieks filled the air as the two armies collided. At least a few hundred people were killed. Blood dyed the sky red. Die! There was a long howl that was exceptionally sharp and bright. Su Yi was surrounded by dazzling godly lights. In front of him, 3 swords were floating. Those 3 swords looked like the feathers of an eagle. Actually, they were made from the feathers of an extremely strong cultivator of the Heavenly Eagle clan. They were extremely sharp. The illusory figure brushed past the 3 divine swords and continued its killing spree. Every time it flickered, a few people would be pierced by the divine swords or split into 2 halves. Su Yi moved forwards and killed dozens of strong cultivators of the Flying Star sect. No matter if they were cultivators of the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd godly emperor layer, they were all killed instantly. Of course, the strong cultivators of the Flying Star sect noticed him. Little boy, die! Shouted a cultivator of the 4th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect. He stared at Su Yi and attacked him. That person was surrounded by starlight. He waved his hand and starlight turned into a sword which descended from the sky and pierced towards Su Yi's head. You want to die? Su Yi smiled coldly. He waved his sword and the starlight battle sword broke apart. Then, his 3 swords shot out and appeared in front of the cultivator of the 4th godly emperor layer of the Flying Star sect. The cultivator of the Flying Star sect was astonished. He hastily used all sorts of skills to block the attack, but it was useless. Su Yi's battle sword directly pierced through all of his defenses, piercing 3 transparent holes in his dantian, chest and glabella. The cultivator of the 4th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect had died instantly. How strong! When the people of the Yunue Pavilion saw how strong Su Yi was, instantly killing people of the same level as him, their morale soared. Ao roared and charged at Su Yi. Brother Hao's chi, Al? Su Yi's battle prowess was indeed strong. It was not wrong to say that he could fight those above his level. At this moment, Lu Ming's performance was neither fast nor slow. He charged forward with the army and did not stand out. Su Yi was in high spirits as he charged towards Brother Hao. At that moment, Brother Hao was fighting against a general of the top of the 5th Godly Emperor layer. Su Yi brushed past the 3 swords and fiercely slashed at the general. The general of the Flying Star sect was wielding a battle saber that glittered with starlight. With a loud roar, he swung his saber at Su Yi's 3 divine swords. Clang, clang. A violent collision broke out and energy waves spread in all directions. The Flying Star sect's general and Su Yi were forced to retreat. They were evenly matched. The people from the Yunue Pavilion and the Flying Star sect were all shocked. In the Divine Emperor realm, the gap between each level was huge. It was extremely difficult to fight against someone of a higher level. But Su Yi, with the strength of the 4th Godly Emperor layer, was able to fight against a general of the top of the 5th Godly Emperor layer. They had never seen such a genius before. They were all dumbfounded. Brother Hao was the first to react. He was overjoyed. With a roar, he charged toward the general of the Flying Star sect. Whoosh, whoosh. Su Yi also joined forces with Brother Hao. Suddenly, the Flying Star sect's general was forced to retreat again and again. He only had the strength to defend himself and was unable to fight back. The other cultivator of the 5th Godly Emperor layer from the Flying Star sect was fighting against a cultivator of the 5th Godly Emperor layer from the Yunue Pavilion. The Flying Star sect was in a bad situation. Boom. At that moment, a tall and sturdy man wearing armor from the Flying Star sect suddenly had the strength of the 4th Godly Emperor layer. He suddenly had the strength of the 5th Godly Emperor layer. He was holding a spear and it moved like a bolt of lightning. He was fighting against a cultivator of the 4th Godly Emperor layer from the Yunue Pavilion. He was startled and hastily dodged. But in the Godly Emperor layer, the difference of 1 Godly Emperor layer was overwhelming. The cultivator of the 4th Godly Emperor layer from the Yunue Pavilion was instantly killed. Then he turned into a beam of light and moved towards Su Yi. Su Yi had no choice but to give up on the general of the Flying Star sect and fight against him. How come you have a cultivator of the 5th Godly Emperor layer? Brother Hao was astonished. The Flying Star sect and the Yunue Pavilion were fighting on the battlefield. It was difficult for them to send out strong cultivators. How come they suddenly had a cultivator of the 5th Godly Emperor layer? Could it be that something had happened on the battlefield? They're from the Feiyun continent, of course. They're waiting for the big fish. Smiled the general of the Flying Star sect coldly. Boom. At that moment, a powerful qi rose up in the air from the Flying Star sect. Surprisingly, another cultivator of the 5th Godly Emperor layer appeared and threw himself at Su Yi. It's over. At that moment, the faces of the Yunue Pavilion's army turned deathly pale. The enemy had hidden so many strong cultivators in their army. They had 2 more cultivators of the 5th Godly Emperor layer than they had expected. That kind of fighting strength was enough to turn the situation around. Were the Yunue Pavilion going to suffer a crushing defeat? You want to die. At that moment, Su Yi coldly shouted. His eyes revealed a gloomy expression. At the same time, 2 black beads appeared in his hand. Within the 2 black beads were strands of lightning flickering. I didn't want to use them, but since you want to die, I'll help you, said Su Yi icily. Then he threw the 2 pearls at them. Boom boom. The 2 pearls exploded and released lightning. In a flash, the 2 cultivators of the 4th Godly Emperor layer were engulfed by the lightning. Around them, some other strong cultivators were also engulfed by the lightning. They didn't even have time to scream before they turned into ashes. When the lightning disappeared, 2 silhouettes were blown away. Their clothes were tattered and their qi was extremely weak. It was the 2 cultivators of the 5th Godly Emperor layer from the Flying Star sect. At that moment they were severely injured and their qi was extremely weak. When Brother Hao and the others saw that, they were extremely happy. Su Yi had said that he had a weapon that could injure cultivators of the top of the 5th Godly Emperor layer. Chapter 3975. Die! Shouted Su Yi furiously after injuring the 2 cultivators of the 5th Godly Emperor layer. Then, he threw himself at the 2 cultivators of the 5th Godly Emperor layer. Help! Shouted the 2 cultivators of the 5th Godly Emperor layer. No one can save you, smiled Su Yi coldly. Little boy, you want to die. As soon as Su Yi finished his sentence, a loud roar could be heard coming from the Flying Star sect. Following this, several terrifying auras rose into the sky. There were a total of 3 auras and they were extremely terrifying. As soon as the auras appeared, a few beams of divine light shot towards Su Yi. That's sixth godly emperor layer. Su Yi's face turned pale with fright. He hastily made his three swords fly out and collide with the three beams of godly light. Although the three divine lights were blocked, Su Yi's three divine swords were also beaten until they lost their luster. They flew out and no one knew where they flew to. Swoosh, swoosh. Three tall and sturdy silhouettes appeared from the Flying Star sect. They were surrounded by starlight. Sixth godly emperor layer, shouted Brother Hao furiously. Not only were there cultivators of the fifth godly emperor layer in the enemy's camp, but there were also cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer. Was over. At that moment they could only put their hopes on Su Yi. They hoped that he could create a miracle and save the situation. Otherwise, the Yunue Pavilion's army would be in danger. Su Yi pulled a long face when he saw the three cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer coming towards him. He clenched his teeth and took out 5 black orbs from his storage ring. He only had 7 of those Tai Chi lightning pearls. He had already used 2 of them, so he only had 5 left. He hoped he could injure the cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer of the Flying Star sect. He waved his hand and threw the 5 pearls at them. 5 explosions sounded as the 5 pearls exploded. The 3 cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer and a few hundred people from the Flying Star sect were trapped inside, including the 2 cultivators of the fifth godly emperor layer who had been seriously injured. Lightning filled the air and the people from the Flying Star sect who were trapped inside were turned into ashes. However, 3 figures managed to rush out of the range of the lightning. It was the 3 cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer. Their godly lights were dim and some parts of their bodies were burnt. They had been injured by the Tai Chi lightning pearl. However, his injuries were not serious. The Tai Chi lightning pearl could injure cultivators of the fifth godly emperor layer, but it couldn't harm cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer. However, apart from the cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer, the cultivators of the Flying Star sect, including the 2 cultivators of the fifth godly emperor layer, were all dead. The 3 cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer were furious. Kill that brat. That kid is dead for sure. Kill. The 3 cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer were furious and threw themselves at Su Yi. Su Yi's expression changed drastically, revealing a look of fear as he turned around and ran. He was strong enough to fight against cultivators of the fifth godly emperor layer, but against cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer, he would die instantly, let alone 3 cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer. A pair of wings extended from his back, flapping wildly as he fled for his life. However, he wasn't as fast as the cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer. They were getting closer and closer to him. Stop them. I order you to stop them. Su Yi charged into the Yunue Pavilion's army and roared at the Yunue Pavilion. But the people of the Yunue Pavilion didn't dare stop the cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer. Therefore the people of the Yunue Pavilion moved to the sides. Fuck! Shouted Su Yi furiously. His hands turned into talons and he grabbed a few people of the Yunue Pavilion and threw them at the 3 cultivators of the sixth godly emperor layer of the Flying Star sect. His goal was to delay them so that he could escape. The people of the Yunue Pavilion who were thrown away gave horrible shrieks as the 3 cultivators of the Flying Star sect smashed them into pieces. Su Yi kept throwing people of the Yunue Pavilion at the 3 cultivators of the Flying Star sect. In the blink of an eye, over 100 people had been thrown away. They all died at the hands of the 3 cultivators of the Flying Star sect. What's going on? Brother Hao and the others pulled long faces. The favorable impression that Su Yi had created for him was now gone. In order to survive, he had sacrificed his own teammates. How shameless. At that moment, they didn't have a good impression of Su Yi anymore. Everywhere Su Yi went, the people of the Yunue Pavilion ran away. Of course, there was one person who didn't run away, Lu Ming. Lu Ming had been following the army the whole time. He hadn't done anything special. He didn't like to show off. Since Su Yi wanted to show off, Lu Ming didn't mind. At that moment, Su Yi threw himself at Lu Ming ferociously. He shouted furiously, "Little boy, go and stop them. Even if you die, you have to stop them." At the same time, he grabbed Lu Ming's shoulder with his talons and threw him back. He wanted to throw Lu Ming towards the 3 cultivators of the Flying Star sect. But he didn't move. Su Yi had the impression he was grabbing a planet. He couldn't throw him away. On the contrary, because he was using too much strength, his arm almost broke. "Piss off, little boy." Su Yi roared again and unleashed all his strength, wanting to throw Lu Ming out. However, he still did not move an inch. Sui was dumbstruck. He looked at Lu Ming incredulously. Lu Ming was looking at him coldly. If you hadn't provoked me, I wouldn't have bothered with you. But since you provoked me, I have no choice but to help you, said Lu Ming coldly. He stretched out his hand and put it on Su Yi's face. His hand shook violently and Su Yi's body was blown away towards the 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer of the Flying Star sect. Ah! Su Yi screamed in horror. He wanted to stabilize his body, but he realized that he could not do so at all. Lu Ming's outburst of power was too strong. How could a cultivator of the 1st godly emperor layer be that strong? Die. At that moment, the 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer of the Flying Star sect arrived and attacked Su Yi. Su Yi gave a horrible shriek and then his body and soul were destroyed. That little boy is evil. Kill him first. After killing Su Yi, one of the cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer of the Flying Star sect looked at Lu Ming. He used starlight to appear in front of Lu Ming and threw a punch at Lu Ming. Boom. Lu Ming was also very direct. He also threw a punch at the other party's fist. He had just broken through to the godly emperor layer, so he wanted to see how strong he was. Rumbling sounds spread in all directions. Then the starlight broke apart and a silhouette was blown away. It was the cultivator of the 6th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect. His fist was dripping with blood. His bones had been broken by Lu Ming's punch. Chapter 3976. Everybody was dumbstruck when they saw that. Especially the people of the Yunhua Pavilion, such as Brother Hao and the others. How? How is that possible? Brother Hao and the others' eyes were wide open. Lu Ming only had the strength of the 1st godly emperor layer, but he had defeated a cultivator of the 6th godly emperor layer in one punch, and he had even injured him. Were they hallucinating? Or were they dreaming? At the same time, the 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect were also astonished. A cultivator of the 1st godly emperor layer had injured a cultivator of the 6th godly emperor layer in one punch. They had never heard of such a thing. That little boy is evil. Let's join hands and kill him, said the cultivator of the 6th godly emperor layer who had been injured. Godly light surrounded him again. Die! Shouted the other 2 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer. The 3 of them joined hands and charged towards Lu Ming. Come! Lu Ming's eyes were twinkling. He looked excited. He jumped forwards and moved like a mountain towards his opponents. He also used his full strength. His battle formula had increased his fighting strength 6-fold. As Lu Ming continued practicing cultivation, the success rate of his battle formula increasing his fighting strength 6-fold was increasing. Now, Lu Ming's success rate of increasing his fighting strength 6-fold was less than 10%. Boom. The 4 cultivators collided. In the blink of an eye, they had already exchanged a dozen attacks. Terrifying chi rolled in all directions. Nobody could stand there anymore. Even cultivators of the 5th godly emperor layer would be killed instantly if they got too close to the chi. Everyone was dumbfounded. Especially Brother Hao and the others. Their mouths were wide open, unable to close. Lu Ming had the strength of the 1st godly emperor layer, and surprisingly, he could fight against 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer at the same time. That was 5 godly emperors. Before, when Su Yi had broken through 1 godly emperor layer, they had been astonished. But now he had broken through 5 godly emperors. They were astonished. It turned out that this was a true monstrous genius. That was what all the members of the Yunhua Pavilion were thinking. They all knew that they had made a mistake in their judgment and looked down on others. Previously he had thought that Su Yi was a king and Lu Ming was a bronze. It was proven that Lu Ming was the king while Su Yi was the bronze. After a dozen more attacks, the 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect were pushed back. They all pulled long faces and blood splashed out of their mouths. With the 3 of them joining forces, they were actually not Lu Ming's match and fell into a disadvantage. The shock the 3 of them felt was indescribable. Is this my current combat strength? Lu Ming muttered. He was very satisfied with his current combat strength. He didn't need to use other weapons, he could kill cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer on his own. Yes, he was that terrifying now. It could kill enemies that were 5 levels higher. Yin Jiuling, as a Universe Genius List candidate, was able to fight across 4 levels. Lu Ming was much stronger than Yin Jiuling. This was the terror of a forbidden body. In the vast universe there were countless geniuses. This was the pinnacle. It's time to end this, whispered Lu Ming. At the same time, 4 stone pearls flew out of his wrist. They were gravity pearls. When he was a quasi-emperor, Lu Ming could only control 3 gravity pearls. After breaking through to the godly emperor layer, Lu Ming could control 4 gravity pearls. The gravity created by 4 gravity pearls was 10 times stronger than 3 gravity pearls. Bzzz. A terrifying gravity surrounded the 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer. The 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect were astonished. Oh no, run. Retreat. The 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect retreated without the slightest hesitation. They knew that when Lu Ming hadn't used such a treasure, they couldn't compete with him. Now that Lu Ming had used such a treasure, they definitely couldn't compete with him. They would definitely die. But they were surrounded by the gravity pearls. They were much slower. Lu Ming's silhouette flickered. He caught up with one of them and attacked him furiously. Even if the other 2 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer wanted to help, they wouldn't have time. The cultivator of the 6th godly emperor layer gave a horrible shriek. Half of his body exploded from Lu Ming's attack. He tried to run away, but it was useless. Boom. A terrifying and destructive chi rolled out. The cultivator of the 6th godly emperor layer gave a horrible shriek as his body exploded. He had been killed by Lu Ming. After killing him, Lu Ming moved on to another cultivator. With the help of the gravity pearls, Lu Ming had the absolute advantage. The other 2 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer tried their best, but it was useless. One after the other they were killed by Lu Ming. Run. After the 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer were killed, the Yunue Pavilion's army lost their minds and started running away. Destroy the Flying Star sect. Brother Hao and the others finally came back to their senses. They shouted furiously and chased after Lu Ming. Lu Ming stepped out. In a few flashes he dashed into the army of the Flying Star sect. Every time he attacked, a cultivator at the 3rd level of the Divine Emperor realm would be killed. Lu Ming attacked cultivators of the 3rd godly emperor layer and above. Lu Ming didn't bother attacking cultivators of the 3rd godly emperor layer and below. That way he could turn the tide of the battle. Lu Ming killed cultivators of the 3rd godly emperor layer and above. The Flying Star sect's army couldn't fight against the Yunue Pavilion's army anymore. They kept chasing after Lu Ming. After a few hours, almost 60% of the Flying Star sect's army had been killed. A few managed to escape. The entire planet Kuandong was under the control of the Yunue Pavilion, including the wormhole. They had won the battle. In the army camp, Brother Hao and the others were extremely respectful in front of Lu Ming. Their heads were almost touching their stomachs. Prince Mu Yun is really a peerless genius. He has the demeanor of a legendary king. Today was an eye-opener for me. If I hadn't seen him, I wouldn't have believed that such a peerless genius like Prince Mu Yun existed. Come, let's toast to Prince Mu Yun. Brother Hao and the rest flattered Lu Ming, trying their best to get into his good books. In their opinion, such an incredible genius like Lu Ming would definitely join the Heavenly Palace. In the future, he would even be a high-ranking member of the Heavenly Palace and become an overlord. Naturally, they had to curry favor with him. Everyone, you're welcome. Lu Ming's face was calm. He raised his glass and replied indifferently. After 3 rounds of drinking, Lu Ming said goodbye. Everyone, the mission on planet Kuandong has been completed. I will now return to the headquarters of the Yunue Pavilion and wait for the next battle. With that, Lu Ming got up and left. After a while, Lu Ming returned to the headquarters of the Yunue Pavilion. Chapter 3977. When he returned to the headquarters of the Yunue Pavilion, Lu Ming found that the other participants had all returned. They had all completed their tasks and were ready to head to the Feiyun continent to fight against the Flying Star sect. However, there were fewer people. There were 12 of them in total. Now there were only 8 people left, including Lu Ming. When the others saw that Lu Ming had returned alone, they were surprised. They were surprised that Lu Ming, who was only at the 1st Divine Emperor realm, had returned instead of Su Yi, who was stronger than them. However, no one asked about it. No one knew what they were thinking. The leader of the Yunue Pavilion decided to head to the Feiyun continent in 3 days to fight against the Flying Star sect and destroy them. The moonlight was like water and the stars were twinkling. It was late at night. In the room, Lu Ming, who was cultivating, suddenly opened his eyes. There was a dazzling glow in his eyes. There were streams of blood in his room. They seeped into the room from the corners of the room and rushed toward Lu Ming as if they were alive. Finally, someone can't wait any longer? Lu Ming whispered. He knew that the 12 of them would kill each other. Out of the 12 people, only the 2 with the highest contributions would pass the test. How could they ensure that they had contributed the most? Of course, the others were all dead. That was the safest way. Therefore, there were only 8 people left. However, it was obviously not enough. There were too many people and someone was going to attack Lu Ming. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, the blood turned into blood-red arrows and shot toward Lu Ming. Umph. Lu Ming snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, his palm force burst forth, spreading out like water ripples. All of the blood-colored arrows collapsed. Lu Ming's figure flashed and he appeared outside the room. There was a courtyard outside the room. At the moment, a red-haired young man was standing in the courtyard. Shuechuan. Lu Ming said coldly. This person was from the inferior blood tribe, a large tribe in the primitive universe. The inferior blood race was said to have a close relationship with the blood race. It was said that they were made up of blood race members with impure blood. Shuechuan was one of the strongest cultivators of the inferior blood clan. He had the strength of the top of the 4th godly emperor layer, but it was said that he had fought against cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer for 100 times and hadn't died. In the divine emperor realm, being able to surpass 2 levels was considered a top genius even among the countless geniuses in the primitive universe. I didn't expect you to be able to take one of my attacks and not die. It seems like I've underestimated you. Shuechuan sneered. His face was extremely cold. Looks like you still don't know about Kuandong planet. Lu Ming said. What about Kuandong planet? Shuechuan was slightly stunned. Lu Ming understood. Brother Hao would definitely report what had happened on Kundong planet to the Yunue Pavilion Master. However, there was no need for the Yunue Pavilion Master to inform Lu Ming and the others. Therefore, the other candidates didn't know about Lu Ming's incredible strength on Kuandong planet. Nothing. I'm just curious. I'm only a cultivator of the 1st godly emperor layer. I shouldn't be a threat to you. Why do you want to kill me first? Lu Ming asked. On the surface, with Lu Ming's cultivation level, it was impossible for him to pass the exam. However, Shuechuan was the first one to kill him. He couldn't help but feel a little strange. Since you're going to die, I'll let you know why. First, I instinctively feel that your blood tastes good. If I drink your blood, it may make me stronger. Second, as long as you're alive, you're an unknown factor. I'll kill you one by one. You're the first one. Shuechuan sneered. His face was ferocious. You're really unlucky. You should have chosen someone else. That way you could have lived a little longer. Lu Ming shook his head and sighed. Ridiculous. Don't talk nonsense. Die. Shouted Shuechuan coldly. His blood chi filled the air. His whole body was enveloped by a bloody light. Then he turned into a bloody sword light and slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his hand and 4 gravity pearls flew out. He didn't want to waste time talking nonsense with his opponent. He directly used the gravity pearls. The strength of the 4 gravity pearls completely covered the courtyard. The powerful gravity pressed down on Shuechuan. Shuechuan's body shook violently. The bloody light on his body almost collapsed. Whoosh! Lu Ming attacked. He activated the battle formula and increased his fighting strength by 5 times. He used the Great Holy Wind technique and the Great Breaking technique. His hand was like a knife. Poof! Blood splattered everywhere. Shuechuan's body was torn apart. He couldn't be more dead. One move. Just one move and Shuechuan was killed by Lu Ming. Shuechuan's fighting strength was only equivalent to the strength of the 6th godly emperor layer. After Lu Ming used the gravity pearls, he was caught off guard and was instantly killed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming grabbed Shuechuan's interspatial ring and took it. Then he condensed a flame and burned Shuechuan's body to ashes. Are you all pretending to be stupid? Lu Ming glanced around and smiled indifferently. The other people who were participating in the exam lived nearby. Lu Ming didn't believe that these people hadn't noticed what had just happened. However, these people didn't make the slightest movement. They were obviously waiting to reap the benefits. Anyway, no matter if Lu Ming or Shuechuan died, it would be beneficial for them. However, at that moment these people were astonished. Shuechuan was killed. I wouldn't have thought that Mu Yun's strength would be so terrifying. With the strength of the 1st godly emperor layer, he could kill Shuechuan, who had the strength of the 6th godly emperor layer. Even though he used a treasure, it's still terrifying. What terrifying strength! It seems that everyone has underestimated this person. With my strength, how could I have finished in the top 2? Thoughts rose in the hearts of these people. Some of them had serious expressions, some shook their heads and sighed, and some revealed murderous intent. Lu Ming smiled coldly. If these people didn't provoke him, he would be fine. If they provoked him, they would be courting death. Lu Ming's silhouette flickered and he went back to his room. Then he took out a demonic secret skill and started practicing it. He was now practicing ordinary secret skills very quickly. After a short period of time, he could successfully comprehend an ordinary secret skill and turn it into a talisman and integrate it into his cells. All kinds of demonic secret skills turned into talismans and integrated into Lu Ming's cells. Lu Ming gradually mastered more and more secret skills. That night, everything was peaceful. The next day it was still peaceful. Late at night, Lu Ming sensed that there was someone in the courtyard outside his door. "Who is it?" Lu Ming asked coldly. A ray of cold light flashed in his eyes. "Brother Mu Yun, it's me, Ming Yu Sheng." A clear and bright voice sounded. "It's him." Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Ming Yu Sheng was a top genius of the Moonlight Clan. Chapter 3978. The Moonlight Clan was ranked 24th in the list of the 10,000 clans of ancient desolation. They were one of the strongest clans. They were even stronger than the Elf Clan. The members of the Moonlight Clan were the incarnations of moonlight. Ming Yu Sheng was one of the strongest cultivators of the Moonlight Clan. He had the strength of the 5th Godly Emperor layer, but he could defeat opponents who were 2 cultivation layers higher than him. He was terrifyingly strong. Among the 12 people, he was one of the most likely to pass the exam. The other one was the old man who had the strength of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. At least, they were the 2 most likely to pass the exam. Of course, many people thought that Mu Yun was also one of the most likely candidates to pass the exam. With a thought, a blast of air burst out and the door opened automatically. A young man in white clothes was standing outside the door. "You're here to kill me too?" asked Lu Ming icily. "Brother Mu, you misunderstood me. I'm here to talk about cooperation," said Ming Yu Sheng. "Cooperation?" Lu Ming's eyes twinkled. "Indeed. Can I come in?" asked Ming Yu Sheng, smiling elegantly. He looked harmless to humans and animals. "Of course," said Lu Ming. He wasn't afraid of Ming Yu Sheng. If Ming Yu Sheng wanted to die, he didn't mind sending him on his way. Ming Yu Sheng was strong. He could defeat cultivators of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. Lu Ming couldn't compete with him on his own, but Lu Ming had many deadly weapons. Ming Yu Sheng wasn't very talented. He probably couldn't control any powerful weapons. Ming Yu Sheng entered the room and closed the door. "What do you want to talk about?" asked Lu Ming. "This time there are 12 of us. No, it should be 7 now. Among the 7 of us, only 2 can complete the assessment. The ones who are most likely to complete the assessment are Fu Zun, me, and you, Brother Mu. As long as one of us falls, the remaining 2 will almost certainly be able to pass the assessment," said Ming Yu Sheng. "You want to cooperate with me to kill Fu Zun?" asked Lu Ming. Fu Zun was the old man who had the strength of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. It's easy to deal with smart people. Not bad. Fu Zun is old, but he's very strong. Ordinary cultivators of the 7th Godly Emperor layer can't compete with him. I'm not sure I can defeat him, but with Brother Mu, I'm sure I can defeat him," said Ming Yu Sheng. Lu Ming was not surprised by Fu Zun's ability. Those who could participate in the Heavenly Soldier assessment were usually powerful people. Even if they couldn't fight above their level, they were still the best among their peers regardless of age. Sometimes you couldn't underestimate your age. Although his potential was limited due to his age, his combat strength was hard to say. Some people had spent countless years to comprehend the quintessence God-Force factor and quintessence God-Force factor. Perhaps the quintessence God-Force factor had been awakened many times, and many of the shackles of the quintessence secret technique had been severed. From the looks of it, the more times one awakened their origin divine power, the easier it would be for them to achieve breakthroughs in their cultivation. However, this wasn't absolute. Some people's origin divine power might be awakened many times, but their cultivation wouldn't be able to achieve breakthroughs even after a long time. They could only let their lifespan continue to elapse and become white-haired elders. The fighting strength of these people was often terrifying. Young geniuses were strong, but the fighting strength of some older geniuses was not to be underestimated. "Where do you want to do it? It won't look good here," Lu Ming said. "I won't be as stupid as Xuechuan. In 2 days we'll go to the Flying Cloud continent to fight against the Flying Star sect. We'll have plenty of chances to do it on the battlefield. No one will suspect that we did it," said Ming Yuesheng. "Okay, I promise you." Lu Ming nodded with a smile. "Haha, this is great. The 2 quotas for the assessment are mine and Brother Mu's. Ming Yuesheng smiled and left his contact information with Lu Ming. He then floated away without anyone noticing. Boy, do you really believe him? Maybe he'll turn around and find Fu Zun to deal with you? Reminded Gu Mo. I just agreed to deal with him. Lu Ming smiled. Boy, I know you're cunning, said Gu Mo with a smile. Bone Devil's guess was right. Ming Yuesheng quietly returned to his room, but not long after, he quietly appeared in another room. It was Fu Zun's room. What kind of cooperation do you want to talk to me about? Fu Zun looked at Ming Yuesheng. His turbid eyes were shining with a terrifying light. You should have seen how Mu Yun killed Xuechuan, right? Said Ming Yuesheng. Yes, Mu Yun is really terrifying. He's only at the first layer of the Divine Emperor realm. He's a peerless hero, said Fu Zun. There was a flash of jealousy in Ming Yuesheng's eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. Indeed, Mu Yun is a peerless hero. I'm far from him. I wonder if you're interested in joining forces with me to kill such a peerless hero? Said Ming Yuesheng coldly. Join forces with you to kill Mu Yun? Fu Zun's eyes flashed. That's right. Among the remaining people, only you, Mu Yun, and I have the chance to complete the test. As long as we work together to kill him, the 2 test missions will be ours. Besides, any peerless genius would surely have some fortunate encounters, peerless treasures and peerless martial arts. If you can kill him and claim his treasures, you might be able to have a breakthrough in your cultivation, said Ming Yuesheng. The last sentence caused Fu Zun's eyes to shine with a bright and greedy light. Being able to help him break through his cultivation was more attractive than anything else. He had been stuck at the 7th layer of the godly emperor realm for a long time. He had tried all kinds of methods, but he couldn't break through to the 8th layer of the godly emperor realm. He had joined the heavenly palace to become a celestial soldier because he wanted to find a way to break through. If he killed Lu Ming and obtained Lu Ming's treasures, he might be able to break through. He was tempted. He couldn't refuse such a temptation. All right, let's join forces. But we need to think about when to attack, said Fu Zun. Wait until we reach the Feiyun continent. We'll have plenty of opportunities to attack on the battlefield, said Ming Yuesheng. All right. Fu Zun nodded and reached an agreement with Ming Yuesheng. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. After 3 days, Lu Ming and the others followed the pavilion master of the Yunhua Pavilion to the Feiyun continent. The Feiyun continent was a continent floating in the air. It was huge and had rich divine qi. It was the best place to cultivate in the Feiyun Star area. In the past, it was jointly managed by the Flying Star sect and the Yunhua Pavilion. It was also the center of the war. The 2 forces had gathered the most experts on the Feiyun continent. Chapter 3979. However, during this period of time, the Yunhua Pavilion was at a disadvantage on the Feiyun continent. Many experts had died, which was why the Flying Star sect was able to transfer some people away, such as the sudden increase of experts in the Kuandong planet. Lu Ming and the others arrived at the headquarters of the Yunhua Pavilion on the Feiyun continent. This place was like a military camp. At a glance, it was boundless. The Yunhua Pavilion held a banquet to welcome Lu Ming and the others. At the banquet, the pavilion master and the others' attitude towards Lu Ming was completely different from before. They were much more respectful. Obviously, they already knew what had happened on the Kuandong planet. Dong dong dong. Suddenly, the sound of war drums resounded. Pavilion master, the Flying Star sect is attacking. Someone quickly came to report. Everyone, it seems like we can't enjoy this banquet. The pavilion master of the Yunhua Pavilion said apologetically. Haha, it doesn't matter. Let's go and have a good fight with the Flying Star sect. It won't be too late to eat and drink after we destroy the Flying Star sect. Ming Yuesheng laughed heartily. All right, gather the army and have a good fight with the Flying Star sect. The pavilion master of the Yunhua Pavilion ordered. Soon after, the war drums sounded and countless figures flew out from the Yunhua Pavilion's military camp. Lu Ming and the other 6 were naturally among them. They naturally couldn't miss such an opportunity. If they didn't dare to participate in every battle, how could they earn merits? How could they complete the assessment? Kill? In front, countless troops of the Flying Star sect roared and rushed over. Kill? Lu Ming and the others also roared. The 2 armies and countless experts clashed in the air. In an instant, countless people died and their bodies fell to the ground. Lu Ming condensed a long spear with his forbidden energy and charged into the crowd of the Flying Star sect. As the long spear stabbed out, The spear radiance was everywhere and the people of the Flying Star sect were constantly killed. Every time a person of the Flying Star sect was killed, a wisp of remnant soul would fly to Lu Ming and be absorbed by the jade talisman sent by the Heavenly Palace. Their merits were calculated according to the remnant soul absorbed by the jade talisman. Based on the remnant soul, one could deduce the cultivation level of the victim. Lu Ming went on a killing spree as if there was no one around. Soon, over 100 experts from the Flying Star sect had been killed by him. Die, brat. A cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer stared at Lu Ming and attacked Lu Ming. Good timing, shouted Lu Ming furiously. He turned into a beam of light and collided with the cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer from the Flying Star sect. With a loud boom, it was as if the sun had exploded. Rings of energy waves swept out in all directions. Then, the cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer from the Flying Star sect was pushed back and coughed up blood. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He couldn't believe that a cultivator of the 1st Godly Emperor layer could injure him in one attack. In the next moment, the 4 gravity pearls emitted a terrifying gravitational force that enveloped the man's body. Then Lu Ming rushed over and killed the man. The people of the Flying Star sect were shocked. They distanced themselves from Lu Ming, their eyes filled with fear. Die. Lu Ming moved in another direction. The army was made up of high-level godly kings. Most of them were godly emperors, but there were also many godly emperors. The battlefield was huge. It was a battlefield for millions and millions of li. Some people were fighting in the sky, some were fighting in the mountains, some were fighting underground. Lu Ming didn't see any people from the Flying Star sect around him. Swoosh. Lu Ming dashed toward a mountain ridge. Over here, some people from the Flying Star sect and the Yunhua Pavilion were engaged in a fierce battle. Lu Ming waved his hands and a gust of wind swept across. 6 to 7 experts from the Flying Star sect were killed by Lu Ming. Leaving behind a few people from the Yunhua Pavilion who were in a daze, Lu Ming flashed past them and dashed toward another place. Just like that, Lu Ming killed hundreds of people from the Flying Star sect in half an hour, including a few cultivators of the 6th Godly Emperor layer. However, he didn't encounter any cultivators above the 7th Godly Emperor layer. Just as Lu Ming passed by a canyon, he suddenly felt a sharp and fierce murderous intent sweeping toward him. Lu Ming looked at it coldly and threw a punch. Boom. Lu Ming's fist collided with a green venomous snake and there was a violent explosion. The green venomous snake was defeated by Lu Ming. It turned out that it was condensed from energy. However, Lu Ming's body also retreated rapidly. Numerous wounds appeared on his arms. How strong. That's the strength of a cultivator of the 7th Holy Emperor layer. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he stared in one direction. A silhouette appeared in Lu Ming's field of vision. It was an old man Fu Zun. It seems like you can't control yourself anymore, said Lu Ming. Mu Yun, give me your treasures and the techniques you practice. I'll give you a quick death, said Fu Zun. You alone? Asked Lu Ming probingly. I alone am enough to kill you, said Fu Zun coldly. He and Ming Yusheng had agreed to join hands to deal with Lu Ming. However, he couldn't control his greed and decided to attack alone. After joining hands with Ming Yusheng to kill Lu Ming's treasures would be split equally with Ming Yusheng. If he attacked alone, wouldn't all Lu Ming's treasures be his? Even though Lu Ming was strong, Fu Zun was confident that he could kill Lu Ming. Therefore, he had been watching Lu Ming since the beginning of the battle with the Flying Star sect. He had waited until there was no one around to attack. Is that so? Lu Ming smiled indifferently. Suddenly Lu Ming moved. He turned into a gust of wind and charged Fu Zun. As he charged out, the 4 gravity orbs flew out. The powerful gravity enveloped a large area around him. Divine Snake Reincarnation Seal. Fu Zun hollered. His divine power surged and condensed into more than 10 poisonous snakes, charging toward Lu Ming. Those poisonous snakes hissed and broke through the gravity. They either bit or coiled around Lu Ming. Boom. Lu Ming used his battle formula to increase his battle prowess by 6 times. He used 2 ancient secret skills at the same time to attack the snakes. However, Lu Ming was still no match for them. After a dozen attacks, Lu Ming was pushed back. He had more wounds on his body. With the gravity pearls, Lu Ming could easily kill cultivators of the 6th Godly Emperor layer. However, Fu Zun was strong even among cultivators of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. Lu Ming was no match for him. 10,000 snakes murder. Fu Zun roared. More and more green venomous snakes condensed from his body and pounced on Lu Ming. Even the gravity of the gravity pearl could not stop them. Qiuqiu. Lu Ming's mind stirred. Qiuqiu transformed into armor, covering his entire body. A silver spear appeared in his hands. The spear turned into a dozen spear lights and shot out explosively. Chapter 3980. Lu Ming borrowed Qiuqiu's power and charged towards Fu Zun. However, after a dozen moves, Lu Ming still coughed up blood and retreated. Even with Qiuqiu's help, they were still no match for Fu Zun. Die! Fu Zun roared as he transformed into a giant green snake. He traversed the void and coiled around Lu Ming. A green poisonous gas emanated from his body and enveloped Lu Ming. This type of poisonous gas was extremely toxic and had a terrifying corrosive property. Sizzling sounds came from Lu Ming's body. Even Qiuqiu's armor was corroded with holes. The poisonous gas seeped into Lu Ming's body and corroded Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming screamed in pain and struggled with all his might. Die! Fu Zun roared as he coiled around Lu Ming with all his might. He wanted to kill Lu Ming completely. Brat, your ability to put on an act is not bad. Bone Demon secretly sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Haha, of course I have to act like it. Lu Ming replied, but he continued to scream in pain. I'll fight you to the death. Lu Ming struggled with all his might and took out the Gale Pearl. With a boom, a powerful force exploded from the Gale Pearl and destroyed everything in its path. However, under Lu Ming's special control, it was as if the Gale Bead had exploded, giving off the feeling that it was a one-time use treasure. The Gale Pearl's explosion created a destructive force that swept out in all directions. Fu Zun, who had transformed into a green snake, screamed in horror as his body was continuously destroyed by the destructive force. Ah, kid, I'll take you down with me. Fu Zun roared. He felt a fatal danger. The power of the Gale Pearl's explosion was too terrifying. He couldn't escape at all. Only death awaited him. Faced with such a situation, Fu Zun went crazy. His body exploded with a boom. He actually self-destructed. The two destructive forces collided continuously and enveloped Lu Ming. After a while, all the forces dissipated. Fu Zun's body had completely disappeared and turned into ashes. Only Lu Ming was left. He was lying on the ground and vomiting blood. His aura was weak and he looked like he was on the verge of death. Another while later, a figure floated over from a hidden place like a ghost. He appeared not far away from Lu Ming and stared coldly at Lu Ming. Brother Mu, are you all right? The figure asked. Brother Ming Yue. Lu Ming spoke with difficulty. This figure was Ming Yu Sheng. Brother Mu, you look like you're seriously injured? Ming Yu Sheng asked tentatively. Fortunately, it's all because of that old fellow Fu Zun. I didn't expect that he would attack me first before I attacked him. Fortunately, I have a trump card. Otherwise, I would most likely be in danger. Brother Ming Yue, please lend me a hand, Lu Ming said. Lend you a hand? Muyin, you're really naive. Now, hand over all your treasures and cultivation techniques and I'll give you a quick death, Ming Yuesheng said. Lu Ming's expression did not change. Ming Yuesheng, have you revealed your true face? You were watching from the side just now, right? That's right. That guy Fu Zun thought that he was tailing you secretly, but he didn't know that I was tailing him the whole time. I knew that he wouldn't be able to control himself and would attack you first. When both of you are injured, I can sit back and reap the benefits, Ming Yuesheng said. So, you were lying when you said you wanted to cooperate with me? Lu Ming said. Of course, I cooperated with you only to lower your guard and let you fight to the death with Fu Zun. Everything was within my expectations. Now I'll say it again. Hand over the treasures and divine arts on your body and I can give you a quick death, Ming Yuesheng said. He was afraid that if he killed Lu Ming, he would only be able to obtain Lu Ming's treasures and not Lu Ming's mystical skills. After all, many people would not carry the mystical skills with them. You think too much. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Then he stood up directly. The injuries on his body were healing at an astonishing speed. Moreover, his aura was also rising rapidly. Your injuries? How could it be? Ming Yuesheng roared in shock. What are these injuries to me? Lu Ming smiled. Everything he did before was an act. His purpose was to lure Ming Yuesheng out and make him reveal his true face. Ming Yuesheng thought that he hid it well, but in fact he had been discovered by Lu Ming long ago. Just now he deliberately exploded the Gale Pearl and deliberately injured Fu Zun. His purpose was to lower Ming Yuesheng's guard. Ming Yuesheng thought that everything was going according to his plan, but in fact, Everything was going according to Lu Ming's plan. So what if your injuries are healed? You already used your trump card in the battle against Fu Zun. Without it, I can easily kill you, shouted Ming Yuexing furiously. His body was surrounded by a hazy light. At the same time, moonlight fell from the sky and fell on Ming Yuexing, making his aura rise rapidly. Bright moon above the sea. A strange phenomenon appeared above Ming Yuexing's head. A bright moon appeared in the vast sea. The moonlight was boundless and illuminated the sky. The moonlight seemed gentle, but it was terrifyingly destructive. When the moonlight shone on it, the space shattered like a piece of paper. It was Ming Yuexing's original secret technique. Bang bang bang. When the moonlight shone on Lu Ming's body shook violently and kept exploding. Even Qiuqiu's armor could not resist it. Ming Yuexing was extremely strong. Even though he only had the strength of the 5th godly emperor layer, he wasn't any weaker than Fu Zun. Since you want to die, I'll help you. Die! Shouted Ming Yuexing furiously. He used all his strength to control his original secret technique. Bright and pure moonlight turned into pillars of light which moved towards Lu Ming. I don't want to play with you anymore. I'll send you on your way, said Lu Ming indifferently. Then a round pearl appeared in his hand. It was the Zephyr Pearl. When Ming Yuexing saw the Zephyr Pearl, he frowned in disbelief. He shouted furiously, "How come you have another one? You just exploded. Do you have a second one?" "I only have one Zephyr Pearl," said Lu Ming. Then a strong wind emerged from the Zephyr Pearl. Wherever the strong gale passed, the moonlight that Ming Yuexing had created was extinguished. The strong gale did not stop and swept towards Ming Yuexing. Ming Yuexing was startled and tried to retreat, but it was too late. The strong wind was too fast and caught up with Ming Yuexing. Ming Yuexing gave a horrible shriek. He used all his skills to resist, but it was useless. His body was covered in wounds. What? Shouted Ming Yuexing furiously. He couldn't believe that he was in such a situation. Chapter 3981. Ming Yuexing roared, truly unwilling to accept this. I'll let you know when you die. You think you're smart, but I've already guessed all your plans. After you found me, you went to find Fu Zun and said you wanted to join hands with him to fight against me, right? Also, you were hiding in the dark a moment ago. I noticed you, said Lu Ming. How is that possible? This was the last thought that flashed across Ming Yuexing's mind. He thought he was smart, he thought everything was going according to his plan. He hadn't thought Lu Ming would guess everything. In that case, it was obvious that Lu Ming had deliberately pretended to be injured in the fight with Fu Zun earlier. In fact, Lu Ming could easily kill Fu Zun. Unfortunately, it was too late to figure that out. Ming Yuexing turned into ashes in the wind. After putting away Ming Yuexing's storage ring, Lu Ming took out a large number of divine weapons and metal materials from it. Ball here, eat as much as you want, said Lu Ming. Qiuqiu immediately flew out and turned into a huge metal snake. Back in the primordial divine spirit world, Qiuqiu had once devoured a metal snake and gained the ability of that metal snake. That was, it could devour large amounts of divine weapons and metal-type materials in one go. After turning into a gigantic metal snake, it opened its mouth and swallowed a large number of weapons and metals. Then it turned back into a ball and looked satisfied. Recently, Ball had swallowed a large number of weapons and metals. Its cultivation level had already reached the peak of the 4th godly emperor layer. It felt like it would soon break through to the 5th godly emperor layer. Lu Ming naturally didn't mind. As long as he got weapons and metals, he would feed them to Ball. Qiuqiu burped a few times and circled around Lu Ming happily. Then it transformed back into a bracelet and put it on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming then left this place and continued to hunt the people from the Flying Star sect. In the next few hours, Lu Ming killed over 100 experts from the Flying Star sect. At this time, the war drums on both sides sounded at the same time, urging them to retreat. Lu Ming flew back to the barracks of the Yunue Pavilion. When they returned to the barracks, there were originally 7 of them, but now there were only 5 left. The pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion saw that Fu Zun and Ming Yuexing had not returned. His eyes flickered a few times, but he did not say anything and let Lu Ming and the others go back to rest. As for the Yunue Pavilion master, he gathered the upper echelons of the Yunue Pavilion for a discussion. I plan to launch an all-out attack on the Flying Star sect and fight them to the death, the pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion said. Hearing this, the expressions of the upper echelons of the Yunue Pavilion changed drastically. Pavilion master, you can't do that. The combat power of our Yunue Pavilion is no match for the Flying Star sect. If we fight recklessly, it will be disadvantageous to us. Indeed. Initially we hoped that the Heavenly Palace would send some people to help us, but now there are only 5 of them left. Besides, the strongest cultivators are all dead. What's left is a bunch of trash. They won't be able to help us at all. Indeed. I don't know what the Heavenly Palace is doing. They sent some useless people to help us. How could we destroy the Flying Star sect like that? The upper echelons of the Yunue Pavilion were complaining. Do you really think that the strong cultivators sent by the Heavenly Palace are all dead? Asked the pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion. He looked like an old schemer. Isn't it true? Fu Zun, who had the highest cultivation level, is dead. And Ming Yueshing, even though his cultivation level is not high, I've seen him fight. He's terrifyingly strong. I'm afraid he's as strong as Fu Zun, but he's also dead. There are a few other strong cultivators, but they're all dead. The ones left are all cultivators of the 4th godly emperor layer or below. They won't be able to help us at all, said someone. You're wrong, said the pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion. The upper echelons of the Yunue Pavilion were confused. They were wrong? What were they wrong about? You probably know that the 12 people sent by the Heavenly Palace are all going to participate in the Celestial Soldier exam. Their task is to help the Yunue Pavilion destroy the Flying Star sect. At the same time, among the 12 people, only the 2 who have contributed the most will be able to pass the exam. The others will be eliminated. What will happen if that happens? Asked the pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion. They'll kill each other, said one of the old men. The others also understood. Indeed, if that happened, they would definitely kill each other because there were only 2 people who could pass the exam. If they could get rid of the others, they would have a higher chance of passing the exam. That's right. When they came there were 12 of them, but now there are only 5 left. Did they all die on the battlefield? How is that possible? They probably killed each other. There's only one result: if they kill each other, the weak ones will be eliminated and the strong ones will stay, said the pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion. Pavilion master, you're saying that there are true experts among the remaining people. However, their cultivation, said a middle-aged man. The others couldn't believe it either. Because the remaining people's cultivation levels were too low. You have to look further. Those people are going to participate in the Heavenly Palace's Celestial Soldier exam. You can't look at them like normal people. Every time, there are peerless geniuses who participate in the Celestial Soldier exam. Maybe there's someone like that among this group of people. And the strongest, without a doubt, is among the remaining people, said the pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion. So, who do you think is the strongest one? Asked someone. Mu Yun is the most likely one. Even though he only has the strength of the 1st godly emperor layer, his fighting abilities are comparable to those of the 6th godly emperor layer. He's a peerless cultivator, and with his trump cards, his fighting abilities are unfathomable. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that there's a peerless genius among the remaining people. You have to remember that the Heavenly Palace always does things for a reason. Since the Heavenly Palace sent them here, they must think that there's someone among them who can help us destroy the Flying Star sect. Therefore, I plan to attack the Flying Star sect. At that time, no matter who's hiding, they'll use their full strength. We can't continue to waste time with the Flying Star sect. The more we waste time, the greater the losses we'll suffer. Even if we destroy the Flying Star sect, we'll suffer a great loss. We have to end this battle as soon as possible. The Yunue Pavilion's pavilion master shared his guess and decision. You're right, pavilion master, said the others after hearing the pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion. All right, gather all the strong cultivators of the Yunue Pavilion. Tomorrow morning we'll fight against the Flying Star sect, said the pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion. That night, Lu Ming received the news that they would fight against the Flying Star sect the next morning. The pavilion master of the Yunue Pavilion is really courageous. All right, the earlier the battle, the earlier the end of the exam. Lu Ming's eyes were shining. He looked relaxed. As for the other 4 people, when they heard the news, they looked grave. They knew how strong they were. Chapter 3982. One night passed in the blink of an eye. The next morning, the pavilion leader of the Yunue Pavilion led the strongest cultivators of the Yunue Pavilion to the Flying Star sect. There were only a few thousand of them. Of course, they were all elites of the Yunue Pavilion and they were all above the Divine Emperor realm. In the final battle, quality mattered more than quantity. As long as they could kill all the divine emperors of the Flying Star Sect, the Flying Star Sect would be destroyed. Thousands of divine emperors flew over, creating terrifying shockwaves that shook the entire starry sky. Lu Ming sighed. There was a huge gap in strength between a top-notch universe-level force and a low-level universe-level force. A low-level force could be considered a universe-level force if it had a divine emperor. However, the Yunhua Pavilion had thousands of divine emperors. The gap was huge. Of course, there were even stronger universe-level forces. The Yunhua Pavilion only had one divine emperor layer of the 9th divine emperor layer. Some of the stronger universe-level forces had several divine emperors. Some even had dozens or hundreds of divine emperors. Of course, above the universe-level forces, there was a powerful clan. These powerful clans all had emperor gods. Above the divine emperors were emperor gods. The clans on the list of primitive 10,000 tribes were even more terrifying as they had many emperor gods. The higher the ranking, the more terrifying their strength was. Some of the top clans even had people who could compete with the Lord of Heaven of the Heavenly Palace. Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. They had crossed thousands of mountains and rivers and were about to reach the territory of the Flying Star Sect. Boom boom boom. In front of them the void trembled. Shockwaves swept over like waves, and figures appeared one after another between heaven and earth. They were the experts of the Flying Star Sect. The Flying Star Sect knew that Lu Ming and the others were coming. The experts of the Flying Star Sect who were above the Divine Emperor realm had already gathered and formed a formation, waiting for the people of the Yunhua Pavilion. The number of Divine Emperors of the Flying Star Sect was no less than that of the Yunhua Pavilion. There were thousands of them too. Boom. The chi of the two sides collided in the sky and turned the sky into a chaotic mess. The people of the Yunhua Pavilion stopped. Yunsu, what's wrong? Did you bring all the experts of the Yunhua Pavilion here to fight with my Flying Star Sect? An old man with snow-white hair walked out from the Flying Star Sect. He was wearing a long robe with stars on it. His aura was natural and unfathomable. He was the patriarch of the Flying Star Sect. He was as famous as Yunsu, the leader of the U-Cloud Pavilion. He had the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer. What's the point of continuing to fight? Let's settle this today. The pavilion master of the Yunhua Pavilion said. Hee, since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. The sect leader of the Flying Star Sect said coldly. Starlight burst out from his body. Although it was daytime, countless stars appeared in the sky. Beams of starlight fell from the sky. Go. The pavilion master of the Yunhua Pavilion, Yunsu, shouted. The void exploded as he flew out towards the sect leader of the Flying Star Sect. The members of the Flying Star Sect also flew out to attack Yunsu. The two of them flew up into the sky and fought in the starry sky. Boom. It seemed like stars were exploding in the starry sky. The entire universe was shaking. A battle between cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer was terrifying. The starry sky was going to explode. Die. Die. The leaders of the two groups started fighting. The others shouted furiously and attacked their opponents. The godly emperors of the U-Cloud Pavilion and the Flying Star Sect were attacking each other. It was a great battle between godly emperors. As Lu Ming flew out, a few people attacked Lu Ming. Little boy, die, said a big man with a curly beard. He looked ferocious and had the strength of the 2nd godly emperor layer. He threw a few punches at Lu Ming. He wanted to kill Lu Ming. But a cultivator of the 2nd godly emperor layer was too weak. Lu Ming didn't even need to attack. He just moved forwards and a strong wind surrounded him. The curly-bearded man was crushed to pieces. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming punched continuously. Streams of fist force were like meteors, blasting toward the god emperor of the Flying Star Sect. Each of his punches could kill a godly emperor. The Flying Star Sect's strong cultivators were astonished. The other strong cultivators also looked at Lu Ming. For example, a few cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer looked at Lu Ming and threw themselves at him. Good. Lu Ming waved his hand and 4 gravity pearls flew out. A powerful gravitational force surrounded the cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer. Then Lu Ming used his battle incantation to increase his fighting strength by 6 times. He dashed forward and killed a cultivator of the 6th godly emperor layer. How is this possible? The other cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer widened their eyes in shock. Apparently they were stunned by Lu Ming, a cultivator of the 1st godly emperor layer. Then they retreated at full speed. They wanted to escape, but with the gravitational force, how could they escape? Lu Ming cast the Great Divine Wind skill. His figure was like a ghost. In a few flashes he caught up with a few of them. He threw out continuous punches. Bam, bam, bam. 3 cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer exploded. Their souls and bodies were destroyed. In this vast territory, the other people of the 2 great forces were also fighting very fiercely. Cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer were fighting against cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer. However, the Flying Star sect had more cultivators of the 7th and 8th godly emperor layer. They had more cultivators. For example, the Yunue Pavilion had 12 cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer, while the Flying Star sect had 14. The Flying Star sect had more cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer. Therefore, the Yunue Pavilion was at a disadvantage. They could only join hands and defend themselves. At the same time, they were praying and hoping that Lu Ming and the others would be able to turn the situation around. At that moment, some cultivators of the 7th and 8th godly emperor layer were staring at Lu Ming. 2 people, go and kill that little boy, shouted someone furiously. I'll go and kill him, shouted a cultivator of the 7th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect. He turned into a starlight sword and moved towards Lu Ming. If you didn't come to me, I would have gone to you, said Lu Ming coldly. He rose up in the air and threw himself at his opponent. He had originally planned to get involved in the battle between the cultivators of the 7th and 8th godly emperor layer. That way he would be able to gain more merits. In the process of dashing out, Lu Ming took out the Gale Pearl and drew out the power in it. Boom! A violent gale burst out and rushed towards the other party with an earth-shattering momentum. The other party was immediately enveloped by the raging wind. The raging wind instantly tore apart the other party's defense. The other party roared in shock and fear. At this moment he was filled with regret. He didn't expect Lu Ming to have such a powerful killing weapon. He shouldn't have attacked Lu Ming. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. He was reduced to ashes in the strong wind. The cultivators of the 7th and 8th godly emperor layers were astonished. Chapter 3983. When Lu Ming killed a cultivator of the 7th godly emperor layer in one fell swoop, the other cultivators of the 7th and 8th godly emperor layers were astonished. After that, the cultivators of the 2 groups had different feelings. The people of the Flying Star sect were astonished, while the people of the Yunue Pavilion were delighted. He had killed a cultivator of the 7th godly emperor layer in one hit, which meant that he was as strong as a cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer. He could change the outcome of a battle. Die! Shouted Lu Ming icily. He was surrounded by a strong wind as he moved towards the cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer. He was very far away, and a few wind blades moved towards the cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer of the Flying Star sect. Each wind blade was terrifyingly powerful. The cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer of the Flying Star sect's expression changed drastically. They ignored the cultivators of the Yunue Pavilion and focused on the wind blades. Someone raised his hand and a gigantic mountain appeared. The mountain was gray and golden, blocking the way. Someone took out a shield, which became incomparably huge, blocking in front of him. Some people released a dozen defensive godly lights in front of them. Then the gale wind blade arrived. With a series of terrifying explosions, the mountain was torn apart and exploded into pieces. The shield was cut in half, and a dozen defensive godly lights were pierced through. 3 cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer gave horrible shrieks as they turned into ashes. Instantly killed. Instantly killed again. 3 cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer. When Lu Ming was a quasi-emperor, he could use the Zephyr Pearl to fight against cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer. Back then, his great godly wind technique hadn't broken through to the initial level yet. Now, not only had his great godly wind technique broken through to the initial level, but he had also broken through to the godly emperor layer. His strength was much stronger than before. Cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer couldn't withstand a single attack. How can he be so strong? The cultivators of the Flying Star sect were astonished. Lu Ming didn't care about their feelings. After killing the 3 cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer, he moved closer. The Zephyr Pearl turned into a terrifying wind blade and moved towards the cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer. Retreat, retreat quickly. When the cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer saw Lu Ming coming, they didn't dare continue fighting and retreated. You have the strength of the 8th godly emperor layer and you want to kill someone of the 7th godly emperor layer? There was a furious roar. In the sky, a huge palm print, which was completely condensed from starlight, slapped toward Lu Ming. Everywhere the palm print passed by, the void turned into chaos. Its power was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming didn't need to look to know it was a cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer. Lu Ming held the zephyr bead in his hand. A violent gale rushed out from the zephyr bead and turned into a wind blade that slashed towards the palm print. Boom. Some cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer didn't have time to dodge and were blown away by the explosive chi. They coughed up blood and were all coughed up blood. The gale wind blade and starlight palm disappeared at the same time. An old man wearing a starry robe appeared in the sky. He was surrounded by starlight and looked extraordinary. However, the killing intent in his eyes was as cold as a knife. Who are you? You have the strength of the 1st godly emperor layer and you're so strong. There's no one like you in the Yunue pavilion, said the old man with white hair. I'm from the heavenly palace, replied Lu Ming. What? You're from the heavenly palace? Could it be? The old man's expression changed drastically. He pulled a long face. Before that, he didn't know the heavenly palace wanted to kill them. I'll send you to hell, said Lu Ming indifferently. Then he threw himself at the old man. If possible, Lu Ming didn't want to kill him. If he was an enemy of the heavenly palace, he might become a friend in the future. Unfortunately, Lu Ming didn't have a choice now. The most important thing was that the heavenly palace had already found out what they were doing. If the heavenly palace found out, they would die. Even if Lu Ming didn't kill them, the heavenly palace would send people to kill them. Then they would all be killed. Lu Ming only wanted to kill the higher-ups. At the very least, the people in the middle and lower levels would be spared. The gale wind blade turned into a tornado and swept across the sky like a dragon, moving towards the old man with white hair. The white-haired elder let out a long roar, suppressing the shock in his heart. He continuously struck out with his palms, transforming them into a huge starlight handprint that blasted toward Lu Ming. But this time, the force that Lu Ming drew out from the gale pearl was stronger and more terrifying. When the tornado and the starlight palm collided, the starlight palm broke apart. The old man's body shook violently and he was pushed back. He coughed up blood and wounds appeared on his body. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Lu Ming didn't give him any time to breathe. He continued controlling the gale wind blade. Shouted the old man furiously. His entire body started shining as if he had turned into a star. Star Chi attack. The white-haired elder roared. His body transformed into a star, traversing the void and colliding with Lu Ming. Boom. The gale wind blade collided with Lu Ming's gale wind blade. This time the result was the same as the previous time. Even though the gale wind blade had been blocked, the old man was still injured, and his injuries were even more serious. Now, with my full strength, I can suppress ordinary cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer. Lu Ming made a judgment on the strength of the gale bead. He could easily suppress cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer. The most important thing was that the gale wind blade contained in the gale pearl was endless. It could destroy an entire galaxy. Lu Ming just needed to draw it out. It was much easier than using other weapons. With a thought, the gale wind blade came out of the gale pearl. Hurry up and help me, shouted the old man furiously. He turned around and tried to run away. He had already blocked 2 of the gale wind blade's attacks. If he continued, he would be in danger. You can't escape. Crush him. Lu Ming used his full strength to control the gravity pearl. The gravity pearl surrounded the old man. At the same time, he released his full strength and chased after the old man. Stop! Shouted someone furiously. The other cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect rushed over at an incredible speed. Initially, the Flying Star sect had 14 cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer, while the Yunue pavilion had 12 cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer. The Yunue pavilion had been completely suppressed. But now, 2 cultivators of the 8th divine emperor realm had left the battlefield and been lured away by Lu Ming. The pressure on the Flying Star sect was greatly reduced and their morale was high. They could finally launch a counterattack and fight against the people of the Flying Star sect. On the other side, Lu Ming was even faster. Before the cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect arrived, Lu Ming's gale wind blade had already surrounded the old man. Chapter 3984. Shouted the white-haired old man furiously. He used all his strength to block the attack. However, Lu Ming had already dashed into the gale and launched a fierce attack. Lu Ming and Qiu Qiu joined hands, holding a silver spear and attacking the old man. The long silver spear was very powerful with the help of the great god wind skill and the great shattering skill. If the white-haired elder was at his peak, Lu Ming would not be able to do anything to him. However, at this moment the other party was seriously injured and he had to use all his strength to resist the attack of Lai Feng. The silver spear successfully broke through the white-haired old man's defense and pierced through his body. Then, with a jolt of the spear, a destructive power burst out and the white-haired old man's body was torn apart. Even his soul couldn't escape. A cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer had died. At that moment, the cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect finally arrived and started attacking Lu Ming. He condensed starlight into a starlight saber and slashed it down. Bam bam bam. The starlight saber collided with the gale. The gale shook violently, and the starlight saber created a small crack in it. After all, Lu Ming had focused all his energy on the old man, so the gale wasn't that strong. However, at this moment, Lu Ming had already killed the white-haired elder and had recovered. Die! Lu Ming hollered. Another gust of terrifying gale rushed out of the gale pearl. A strong wind crashed against the cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer. His starlight shook violently and broke apart. He had the same fate as the white-haired old man, coughing up blood. He was badly injured and sent flying backwards. Damn! Shouted the old man furiously. He didn't want to fight against Lu Ming anymore. Instead, he retreated to the other cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect. He knew that he couldn't defeat Lu Ming alone. He would end up like the old man killed by Lu Ming. That little boy only has one deadly weapon, but with his cultivation level he won't be able to defeat him in a few attacks. One more person kill him. Shouted someone from the Flying Star sect. Do you think we're useless? Use your full strength. Shouted the cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer from the Yunue pavilion. They also used their full strength to attack. Each of them entangled an opponent and launched a frenzied attack, making it impossible for their opponents to free up their hands. They knew that it was the most important moment to win. As long as Lu Ming killed another cultivator of the 8th layer God Emperor realm and helped them, they would be able to win the battle. It was a matter of life and death. Of course they had to fight. Not only were the people from the Yunue pavilion fighting with their lives on the line, but the people from the Flying Star sect were also fighting with their lives on the line. However, in that case it would be difficult for the Flying Star sect to deal with Lu Ming. As for Lu Ming, he was going after the expert of the 8th God Emperor realm who had attacked him. With the help of the great godly wind technique and the strong gale, Lu Ming turned into a hurricane. He was extremely fast, chasing after the cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer. The cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer had been injured by Lu Ming, so he was much slower now. He was surrounded by the strong gale. He couldn't escape. He shouted and tried his best to break free, but he couldn't escape. Boom. Lu Ming released a terrifying strong gale, which turned into a tornado and moved towards his opponent. His opponent used his full strength to block it, but he was severely injured. His chi was weak and his life was hanging by a thread. Die. Lu Ming wanted to use his strongest attack. How dare you? There was a furious roar in the starry sky. Then a starry sword gleam pierced through the air and slashed toward Lu Ming. Its power was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming had a bad feeling about that attack. The patriarch of the Flying Star sect had attacked. He had attacked Lu Ming while he was fighting against the leader of the Yunue pavilion. I'm your opponent. Shouted the leader of the Yunue pavilion furiously. Rumbling sounds spread in the sky. However, that starry sword gleam still slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming had no choice but to give up on attacking the cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer. He used his full strength to block the starlight sword. A strong wind rolled out and collided with the starlight sword. A cultivator of the 9th godly emperor layer was much stronger than a cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer. But the patriarch of the Flying Star sect was fighting against the leader of the Yunue pavilion, so he couldn't use his full strength. The cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect took advantage of that opportunity to retreat. Unfortunately, he was too injured. He couldn't escape. Lu Ming grunted icily. His silhouette flickered and he quickly caught up with him. I'll send you to hell, said Lu Ming coldly. A strong wind rolled in waves. Ayah! A horrible shriek spread in the air. The second cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect had died in Lu Ming's hands. The other cultivators of the Flying Star sect were astonished. Lu Ming had killed 2 cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer by himself. The balance between the two sides had been broken. Swish. Lu Ming moved towards the cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer. Gather. Gather. Use your full strength to defend. Wait for the patriarch to finish them off, then we'll win. Shouted a cultivator of the 8th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect. Gather. Defend. Shouted the other cultivators of the Flying Star sect. While fighting, they slowly moved and gathered with the other cultivators of the Flying Star sect. Very quickly, the 12 cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer from the Flying Star sect gathered together and used their full strength to defend. Lu Ming released a strong wind, but the 12 cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer gathered together and formed a sphere. Surprisingly, the strong wind couldn't break through their defense. The other cultivators of the Yunhue Pavilion also attacked, but they couldn't break through their defense. Should I use the Shen Ice Rod? Whispered Lu Ming. If he used the Shen Ice Rod, it would definitely be more powerful than the Zephyr Pearl. It could probably break through the defense of the cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer. But there were too many people there. If someone saw that the Shen Ice Rod was extraordinary, it would be troublesome. Afterward, Lu Ming looked into the depths of the starry sky. In the depths of the starry sky, 2 cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer were fighting. They were so fast that they looked like 2 beams of light. They kept colliding with each other. Ordinary people couldn't see them clearly, but Lu Ming could see them clearly. He frowned. The leader of the Yunhue Pavilion and the patriarch of the Flying Star sect were fighting fiercely. It seemed like they were evenly matched, but in fact, the leader of the Yunhue Pavilion was at a disadvantage. Otherwise, the patriarch of the Flying Star sect wouldn't have had time to attack Lu Ming. In a short time, it was difficult to determine the winner, but in a long time, the leader of the Yunhue Pavilion would definitely lose. Translator, Transin Editor, Transin. Chapter 3985. Maybe I should try to break through to the 9th godly emperor layer. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. He then soared into the sky and dashed into the starry sky. The others were astonished. What is he doing? Does he want to get involved in a battle of the 9th godly emperor layer? He's overestimating himself. Even though he can kill cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer with his deadly weapon, he can't compete with cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer. He wants to die. Great. Great. I hope the patriarch can kill him. That way we'll have a chance to win. The members of the Flying Star sect were overjoyed. The members of the Yunhue Pavilion were astonished. Oh no. He's too impulsive. After all, he's too young. The people of the Yunhue Pavilion were shocked. They felt that it was unwise for Lu Ming to go to the battlefield of the 9th level God Emperors. If he was not careful, he would be killed by the 9th level God Emperors. But it was too late to stop him. Lu Ming was already in the air. He released a strong wind towards the patriarch of the Flying Star sect. Little boy, you want to attack me? You're overestimating yourself. Shouted the patriarch of the Flying Star sect icily. Starlight appeared around him and a starlight sword emerged from his body and moved towards the strong wind. Rumbling sounds spread in the air. The starlight sword and the strong wind collided, and then they both disappeared. Brother Mu Yun, hurry up and move away. Shouted the patriarch of the Yunhue Pavilion. He was worried too. Lu Ming could use his deadly weapon. Even though he was strong, he couldn't get involved in a battle of the 9th godly emperor layer. If the patriarch of the Flying Star sect used his full strength, Lu Ming would be in danger. Don't worry. I'll help you kill him, said Lu Ming calmly. He even smiled at the patriarch of the Yunhue Pavilion. Ah, you want to kill me? Die, said the patriarch of the Flying Star sect, laughing furiously. A terrifying chi emerged from his body. Starlight filled the air. At that moment, the stars in the sky were shining. Then, a shocking scene appeared in the starry sky of the universe. Starlight condensed into swords. They released a terrifying chi and moved towards Lu Ming and the patriarch of the Yunhue Pavilion. Stellar Cycle Sword Kill. The sect master of the Flying Star sect roared and pressed his hands down. At least hundreds of huge starry sword lights shot towards Lu Ming and the pavilion master of the Yunhue Pavilion. Back off. The pavilion master of the Yunhue Pavilion roared. He also attacked with all his might. In an instant he blasted out hundreds of palms. Hundreds of huge palm prints blasted out, wanting to block those starry divine swords. However, there were too many starry divine swords. The pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion could not block them all. If he were alone, these starry heavenly swords wouldn't be able to do anything to him. However, Lu Ming was nearby. He wanted to free himself to save Lu Ming, but he didn't have the strength to do so. He could only hope that Lu Ming would be able to avoid it. However, Lu Ming did not dodge. Instead, he charged toward the Flying Star Sect's sect leader. Not good. The pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion was shocked and his expression changed drastically. As for the sect leader of the Flying Star Sect, a ferocious expression appeared on his face. Whoosh whoosh. Lu Ming continued to guide the energy within the Gale Pearl towards the starry sword lights, colliding with them continuously. However, this was a killer move that the sect master of the Flying Star Sect had unleashed with all his might. It was extremely powerful and was even more powerful than the Gale Pearl. In the end, the Gale Pearl was continuously slashed apart. The remaining power of the starry sword lights continued to slash at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body was wrapped in a gust of wind. He flashed continuously and dodged the attacks of the starry sword lights. Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. Some of the starry sword lights were successfully dodged. Die, brat. The sect master of the Flying Star Sect roared ferociously. Many more starry sword lights slashed towards Lu Ming. However, most of his strength was still used to deal with the pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion. He could not use his full strength against Lu Ming. He could only use a portion of his strength. Lu Ming used all his strength to guide the power of the Gale Pearl. He blocked some of the attacks and successfully dodged some of them. The sect master of the Flying Star Sect looked glum. Lu Ming was even more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. He was extremely fast and slippery. It was difficult to hit him. Pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion, use your full strength. Use your strongest attack against the sect master of the Flying Star Sect. At that moment, Lu Ming said to the pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion telepathically. What? The pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion was surprised. Use your full strength to attack and pin down the sect master of the Flying Star Sect. I am confident that I can injure him severely. Lu Ming continued to talk to the pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion telepathically. The pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion was astonished. Did Lu Ming still have trump cards that he had not used? Could a cultivator of the first godly emperor layer really have a way to injure a cultivator of the ninth godly emperor layer? However, he thought of the heavenly palace. The heavenly palace would not have sent these people for no reason. They must have thought of something. At that moment, it seemed like only Lu Ming could play a key role. The others had not performed well yet. All right. At that moment he could only choose to believe in Lu Ming. Come on, old dog of the Flying Star Sect. Let's fight to the death. Shouted the pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion. Dazzling divine light shone from his body as he raised his energy to the maximum. Celestial cloud finger. Shouted the pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion as he pointed his finger. Boundless divine light turned into a boundless finger and pointed at the sect master of the Flying Star Sect. Great, I can kill you now. Shouted the sect master of the Flying Star Sect. He gathered boundless starlight and turned it into a gigantic divine sword. He used his strongest attack and slashed the divine sword at the boundless finger. Of course, the sect master of the Flying Star Sect still had some tricks up his sleeve. He had set up a dozen layers of starlight around him to defend himself against Lu Ming. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming took advantage of the opportunity to draw out the gale from the Gale Pearl and attack the sect master of the Flying Star Sect. However, when the gale hit the starlight around the sect master of the Flying Star Sect, it was blocked by the starlight. You want to break my defense with the strength of the 8th godly emperor layer? Ridiculous. Sneered the sect master of the Flying Star Sect. At the same time, the sect master of the Flying Star Sect and the pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion's strongest attacks collided and dazzling lights exploded. Half of the starry sky was covered by the dazzling lights and people couldn't open their eyes. At that moment, Lu Ming's eyes glittered coldly. Now's the time. A long staff appeared in Lu Ming's hand. It was the Shen Ice Staff. The forbidden power surged madly into the mysterious ice staff. The mysterious ice staff grew rapidly and turned into a giant staff that was bigger than a mountain. Boom. Lu Ming held the Shen Ice Staff and threw it at the sect master of the Flying Star Sect. The void shattered under the bombardment of the mysterious ice staff. That's... The sect master of the Flying Star Sect frowned as he sensed danger. If he had been at his peak, he wouldn't have taken the attack seriously. He was confident that he could block it. However, he had just used his strongest attack to resist the pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion. He didn't have the strength to fight back. Boom. The Xian ice staff bombarded the sect master of the Flying Star sect and the starlight around his body. Chapter 3986. The mysterious ice rod, which was bigger than a mountain, struck the sect leader of the Flying Star sect's protective starlight and exploded. The sect leader of the Flying Star sect's body shook violently and his protective starlight shattered one after another. More than a dozen layers of protective starlight shattered. The huge mysterious ice rod landed heavily on the sect leader of the Flying Star sect. He screamed in pain and his body flew out, smashing a few large meteorites into pieces. He flew out for hundreds of millions of miles. Blood spurted out and dyed the starry sky red. Many of his bones were broken and he was severely injured. He was too careless. He did not expect Lu Ming to suddenly unleash such a terrifying attack. If he had been prepared, he would not have been in such a miserable state. After sending the sect leader of the Flying Star sect flying, Lu Ming immediately put away the mysterious ice rod. On the other side, the Yunue pavilion master was stunned. He did not expect the sect leader of the Flying Star sect to be severely injured all of a sudden. Of course, he knew that it was Lu Ming who attacked. However, he did not see how Lu Ming attacked. This was because when his attack collided with the sect leader of the Flying Star sect, there was a light that was 100 times more dazzling than the sun. He could not see it clearly. He could only vaguely see a huge shadow of a rod that sent the sect leader of the Flying Star sect flying and then disappeared. Pavilion Master Yunue, he is not dead yet. Seize the opportunity. Lu Ming's voice rang in the ears of the Yunue pavilion master. The Yunue pavilion master seemed to have woken up from a dream and threw all distracting thoughts to the back of his mind. His body flashed and he charged towards the sect leader of the Flying Star sect. The distance of hundreds of millions of miles was covered in an instant. Huge palm prints blasted towards the sect leader of the Flying Star sect. The sect leader of the Flying Star sect roared and flew out from a meteorite. He emitted starlight and resisted with all his might. However, he had been hit by Lu Ming earlier and his injuries were very serious. He had less than 50% of his full strength and was no match for the pavilion master of the Yunue pavilion. In just a few moves he was coughing blood and his injuries had worsened. At this moment, Lu Ming summoned a gust of strong wind and formed a tornado that swept towards the sect leader of the Flying Star sect. "You treacherous little bastard, I'll kill you." The sect master of the Flying Star sect roared as he pounced toward Lu Ming. He truly hated Lu Ming to the core. Lu Ming was really too sinister. He obviously had a stronger killing weapon, but he didn't use it before. He waited until Lu Ming had underestimated him before suddenly using it, catching him off guard and causing him to be heavily injured by Lu Ming. If Lu Ming had taken out that killer weapon from the start, he would have been on guard and would not have fallen into such a predicament. However, he was very weak now. When his attack collided with the gale, it actually did not break through the gale. At this moment, the Cloud Moon Pavilion's Pavilion Master's attack arrived, and a palm landed on the Flying Star Sect Master's body. The Flying Star Sect Master's body exploded, and only his head remained as he madly fled. Sect Master. At this moment, one of the experts from the Flying Star sect felt a chill in his heart. His face was ashen. Boom. Rumbling sounds spread in the starry sky as a gigantic hand appeared and enveloped the Flying Star Sect Master's head. The Flying Star Sect Master's head exploded, and his soul was annihilated. The Sect Master, a cultivator of the 9th Godly Emperor layer, had been annihilated by Lu Ming. The Sect Master has died. Retreat. Retreat. When the Flying Star Sect Master had been killed, the remaining cultivators of the Flying Star sect were terrified. Some of them shouted in fear and retreated. Boom. In the starry sky, a gigantic hand descended from the sky and bombarded a cultivator of the 8th Godly Emperor layer who wanted to escape. That cultivator's body exploded and he died. The Cloud Moon Pavilion's Pavilion Master had attacked. Ordinary cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer could only die in a flash against cultivators of the 9th Godly Emperor layer. Set up the formation, defend. Shouted the remaining cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer of the Flying Star sect. The remaining 11 cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer gathered together and used their full strength to defend themselves. Layers of defensive lights surrounded them. You think you can stop me? Today the Flying Star sect will be destroyed. The Cloud Moon Pavilion's Pavilion Master appeared and pointed at them. That was his strongest attack, the Celestial Cloud Finger. A gigantic finger moved towards the 11 cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer of the Flying Star sect. At the same time, the 12 cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer of the Cloud Moon Pavilion also released their strongest attacks to help the Cloud Moon Pavilion's Pavilion Master. Boom! The attacks of the 13 cultivators of the Flying Star sect crashed against the Flying Star sect's formation. Rumbling sounds spread in the air as the 11 cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer of the Flying Star sect were blown apart. The 11 cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer were blown away like meteors. They all coughed up blood and their faces were deathly pale. Die! Shouted the Cloud Moon Pavilion's Pavilion Master. He threw 2 punches and killed 2 cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer. The cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer of the Cloud Moon Pavilion also attacked. They kept releasing all sorts of deadly attacks. In the distance, Lu Ming was standing calmly in the air. He didn't continue fighting. He didn't need to fight anymore. The balance between the two sides was broken. The Flying Star sect was doomed. 2 cultivators of the 8th Godly Emperor layer had died in his hands. That was enough for him to pass the exam. Because among the remaining people no one could compare to him. On the vast battlefield the killing continued. However, it was a one-sided battle. The people of the Flying Star sect were running for their lives. The people of the Cloud Moon Pavilion were chasing them. Apart from Lu Ming, there were 4 other people from the Heavenly Palace who were going to take the exam. Those 4 people were also chasing the people of the Flying Star sect. They knew that Lu Ming would definitely take one spot. The 4 of them could only compete for one spot. The battle lasted for more than half a day before it finally came to an end. In the end, the Flying Star sect suffered a crushing defeat. 80% of the cultivators of the 7th Godly Emperor layer of the Flying Star sect had died. 50 to 60% of the cultivators of the 1st Godly Emperor layer to the 6th Godly Emperor layer had died. The rest had either surrendered or escaped. After that, the Yunhua Pavilion led an army to attack the Flying Star sect's territory and occupied it. However, Lu Ming and the others didn't get involved because the sky official had appeared and taken them away. In the starry sky, you've done well this time. The Flying Star sect has been destroyed. Your mission is complete. Now take out your jade talismans and let me have a look, said the sky official. He didn't mention the people who had disappeared. It was normal for some people to die during the exam. Lu Ming and the others gave their talismans to the sky official. The sky official took them, scanned them with his spiritual awareness and nodded. Muyun, you passed the exam. Take the talisman, said the sky official. Then he gave the talisman back to Lu Ming. Yao Feng, you passed the exam. Take the talisman, said the sky official, giving a talisman to another young man. Chapter 3987. The other 3 were disappointed by the sky official's announcement. The 3 of you have failed the test. I'll take back the jade talismans. Go do what you need to do. The sky official waved his hand, and a wave of energy swept up Lu Ming and Yao Feng, leaving behind the 3 of them to weep at each other. The sky official moved very quickly, bringing Lu Ming's group back to Dream Sky City and into a large hall. This hall was extremely vast and exuded an incomparably dense divine qi that was even denser than many cultivation holy lands. Lu Ming saw quite a few people sitting cross-legged in the hall, cultivating. Cultivate here for now. Once everyone has arrived, the next round of the test will begin, and it will also be the final test. Those who complete it will become true celestial soldiers. The sky official explained, and then he added, relax, no one will dare to attack you while you cultivate here. With these words, the sky official drifted away. Brother Mu, please. Yao Feng cupped his fists to Lu Ming and then drifted away, meeting up with several others on the other side of the hall. It was clear that these people were from the same clan as Yao Feng. As they gathered together, they began to whisper to each other. Several of the youths would occasionally glance in Lu Ming's direction, disbelief and shock in their eyes. Lu Ming faintly smiled and ignored them. He went to an open space on the side of the hall, sat down cross-legged, and began to meditate on the great demon sword art. He had originally wanted to cultivate other secret arts of the demonic path, but ordinary secret arts of the demonic path would turn into secret art runes that would fuse into his cells, making them too eye-catching. Thus, Lu Ming chose to meditate on the great demon sword art. Lu Ming had long since memorized the great demon sword art, but comprehending it was not something that could be done in a short time. This was the perfect place to do so. As time passed, more and more people gathered in the hall. It was clear that more and more people had finished watching the first round of the test. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt his skin tighten. Killing intent. Lu Ming abruptly opened his eyes. His gaze was like lightning as he looked in a certain direction. There was a group of people in that direction. There were more than 10 of them. There were both men and women, and they were all handsome. The women were beautiful and they could compete with the elves. However, these people were all dressed in white robes that faintly emitted holy light. Angels. At one glance, Lu Ming knew that these people were from the angel tribe. Although he didn't extend his angelic wings, the signs of life were too obvious. Whoosh. More than a dozen young angels stepped towards Lu Ming. They arrived in front of Lu Ming in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming's face was calm as he sat there, unmoving. The sky official had said that no one would dare to make a move here, including the members of the 10 strongest races. Mu Yun. One of the taller angel youths said coldly. His golden hair danced in the wind like a mad lion. What's up? Lu Ming looked up and said indifferently. You're really bold. Someone like you dares to challenge young Master Gabbert? There's no need for him to make a move. The next time I see you, I'll beat you to death. The golden-haired angel prodigy said. Let me give you a piece of advice. It's best if you don't make a move blindly. Otherwise you'll be the ones to die. Lu Ming said, his face still calm. The young angels sneered, their eyes cold. Then we'll see. The angel youth left behind a cold murderous aura and then stepped away. By the side, many people glanced at Lu Ming. I heard that when Mu Yun was with the elves, he challenged Gabbert of the angel race. They agreed to fight 1,000 years later. I heard that too. This matter has caused quite a stir in the universe. Do you think Mu Yun can fight Gabbert 1,000 years later? How is that possible? That's completely impossible. Even if Mu Yun's talent isn't inferior to Gabbert's, his cultivation is too far away from Gabbert's. How can he catch up in 1,000 years? Indeed, 1,000 years will pass in the blink of an eye. It's too short. Many people were discussing. However, some people also looked at Lu Ming curiously but didn't comment. These people were generally prodigies from some of the top 10 races, such as the prodigies of the top 10 races. Excuse me. At this moment, a young man of 15 or 16 years old, wearing a loose Taoist robe, flashed and walked toward Lu Ming. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a trace of a smile. Dandan. He didn't expect to meet again after parting on the dragon race's mother planet. However, he didn't see Bubbles. Dandan came to Lu Ming's side and then sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Brother, you actually dare to go against those stupid birds of the angel race. Well done, I support you. Dandan naturally couldn't recognize Lu Ming. Now that Lu Ming was in his current body, his life origin aura was completely different. He continued, to be honest, I've been unhappy with those stupid birds for a long time. Back on the dragon race's mother planet, those stupid birds dared to bully one of my underlings. I've long wanted to deal with them. How about it, let's join forces. Lu Ming's face darkened. Wasn't the underling this guy was talking about him? Back on the dragon race's mother planet, there was an angel race powerhouse who cooperated with the Lord of Heaven of the Heavenly Palace to deal with Lu Ming. Brother, why is your face so dark? Could it be that you're actually afraid of those stupid birds? Dandan continued, trying to provoke him. I'm afraid that you're not qualified to join forces with me. Lu Ming sneered. Swish. Dandan immediately jumped 30 feet high. His eyes were wide open, and he was so angry that his loose Taoist robe was fluttering. Boy, how dare you look down on me? I'm so angry. Boy, give me your contact information for the dreamy divine jade. When the time comes, I'll prove it to you and see if I'm qualified. Dandan was still glaring at Lu Ming. He had always been conceited. Now that he was being looked down on, he was so angry that his liver hurt. Lu Ming nodded casually, and then he and Dandan exchanged contact information for the dreamy divine jade. Right now, he did not intend to tell Dandan the truth. After all, the fact that he was Lu Ming was not a trivial matter. He must not leak it out. Once it was leaked out, he would not be able to find shelter in the primitive universe, let alone sneaking into the heavenly palace. He would have no choice but to run back to the mother planet of the Dragon Clan. After exchanging contact information with Lu Ming, Dandan left in a huff. Mu Yun. Just as Lu Ming was about to continue comprehending the great devil sword technique, another voice rang out. It was very crisp and pleasant to the ears. Lu Ming was speechless. Why was it so difficult to cultivate properly? From the voice, he knew that the elf princess Ling Yue had arrived. A fresh and natural aura assaulted his face as a figure floated over. If it wasn't Ling Yue, who else could it be? Beside Ling Yue there were a few young elves. They were all women and were extremely beautiful. Lu Ming even recognized one of them. Was that Hua Shui? On the side, many people looked at Lu Ming and then at Ling Yue, revealing looks of envy. Of course, there were also many people who revealed strong hostility. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Chapter 3988. What a coincidence. Are you also participating in the Heavenly Soldier assessment? I didn't hear you mention it before. Lu Ming said with a smile. Previously, I did not plan to participate in the Heavenly Soldier assessment, but last time, I obtained the opportunity of the Holy Seed Mother Tree and my talent greatly increased. Royal Father decided to let me enter the Heavenly Palace to gain experience. It will be very beneficial for my future cultivation, so I came. Ling Yue said, carefully sizing up Lu Ming, her eyes becoming brighter and brighter. You've already broken through to the Divine Emperor realm? There was shock amidst the joy. She remembered clearly that when she met Lu Ming for the first time at the Resource Alliance Agreement in the Iron Sea Star Territory Group, Lu Ming's cultivation level was too low. He was too far away from the Divine Emperor realm. But how long had it been since Lu Ming had stepped into the Divine Emperor realm? This cultivation speed was truly shocking. Lu Ming said that he would challenge Gabbert 1,000 years later. In the eyes of others it was a joke, but now she felt that it might really be possible. I'm just lucky I can't compare to you. Lu Ming laughed. He discovered that Ling Yue's cultivation had already reached the peak of the second layer of the Divine Emperor realm. She was just a step away from breaking through to the third layer of the Divine Emperor realm. This kind of cultivation speed was also incomparably shocking. It seemed that Ling Yue's talent had also reached a terrifying level. Beauty, I heard that you are this guy's fiancé? Sigh, it's really a flower stuck in cow dung. A discordant voice rang out. It was Dandan again. He didn't know when he had turned around again. Why don't you break off the engagement? I'll introduce you to a young elite. He's my little brother, but it's not convenient for him to meet you right now. His talent is definitely higher than Mu Yun's. Why don't you consider it? Dandan continued. He was clearly taking revenge on Lu Ming. He was still brooding over Lu Ming's underestimation of him. Lu Ming was speechless. Dandan, this guy, still hadn't changed at all. No need, thank you. Ling Yue frowned. She was a little unhappy with Dandan. I'm serious. You should really consider it. That little brother of mine is extremely talented. He's destined to become a universe overlord in the future. Dandan kept talking and continued to promote. Ling Yue's face was gloomy as she unhappily swept her gaze over Dandan. Sigh, what a woman's view. What's so good about this fellow? That little brother of mine is better? Dandan muttered a few words unwillingly, then left as quickly as she could. For a moment, Lu Ming and Ling Yue felt a little awkward as they chatted casually. Alright, do you know what the content of the second round is? Lu Ming changed the topic. It might be related to the Dark Universe. Ling Yue sent a sound transmission to Lu Ming. Dark Universe? Lu Ming's heart was beating wildly. He had heard from Bone Devil that the Heavenly Palace collected baleful yin qi with spirituality. It might be related to the Dark Universe. However, he wanted to ask in detail, but the Bone Devil didn't say much. He only said that he would understand more after he became a Heavenly Soldier. Who would have thought that Ling Yue would mention it again? Furthermore, it seemed that the second round of the Heavenly Soldier examination was related to the Dark Universe. What is the Dark Universe? How much do you know? Tell me about it. Lu Ming sent a sound transmission to Ling Yue. Ling Yue shook her head and continued to transmit her voice. I only heard Royal Father mention it a few times, but he didn't say much. He said that the Heavenly Palace has a rule that no one can casually reveal information about the Dark Universe to the outside world. He only said that when I become a Heavenly Soldier, I will naturally understand it more clearly. Lu Ming could only suppress the curiosity in his heart. He would naturally understand after the examination. After chatting with Ling Yue for a while, the few of them each found a place to sit down, cultivating while waiting. This wait lasted for a full 2 years. After all, some people needed a long time in the first round of the examination. For example, Lu Ming's examination was set at 1 year. It was just that they completed it faster and finished it ahead of time. It was normal for some of the examinations to take 2 years. In these 2 years, Lu Ming had already gained a deep understanding of the Great Devil Sword technique. He believed that with a little more time he would be able to enter the sect and turn it into a secret technique rune that would fuse into his cells. At this time, the number of people gathered in the hall had already exceeded 10,000. Although the success rate of the first round of the examination was not very high, Lu Ming and the rest of the 12 people, only 2 of them had passed. It was only a 1 in 6 success rate. However, this great desolate universe was too big. There were also many people who had successfully obtained the Baleful Qi. Naturally, there were also many people who had signed up. At this moment, a few sky officials entered the hall. Up until now, the first round of the examination has already ended. You have already passed the first round of the examination. Now the second round will begin. As long as you pass the second round of the examination, you will be able to become a member of the Heavenly Soldier. And the second round of the examination is to enter the Dark Universe. In the middle, a white-haired sky official said, "Dark Universe?" At the scene, many people revealed puzzled expressions. It was obvious that this was the first time they had heard this name. However, there were also some people whose expressions did not change. It was obvious that they had long heard of this name, such as Ling Yue and the others who came from top clans. Next, I will briefly introduce the Dark Universe. However, you have all heard that in the end, it is best not to spread the news of the Dark Universe. Otherwise, the Heavenly Palace will punish you severely. The white-haired sky official said with a cold expression. Many people's hearts trembled as they hurriedly nodded. They did not dare to disobey the orders of the Heavenly Palace. The white-haired sky official raised his hand and pressed down, causing the hall to quiet down. The Dark Universe does not belong to the Great Desolate Universe. The white-haired sky official continued, but after he finished speaking he stopped as if waiting for everyone to absorb and digest. What? Many people were shocked, including Lu Ming. What did it mean that it did not belong to the Great Desolate Universe? For example, those small worlds and middle worlds were all attached to the Great Desolate Universe and still belonged to the Great Desolate Universe. As for the Dark Universe, it actually did not belong to the Great Desolate Universe. Could it be that there was more than one universe in this world? Lord Sky Official, could it be that there is more than one universe? In the endless primal chaos, other than the Great Desolate Universe, there are other universes? Someone raised a question. Not necessarily. The Dark Universe can't be considered another universe. It is different from the Great Desolate Universe. It is a strange place. The white-haired Sky Official said. Senior Sky Official, are there other universes? Someone asked. I'm not too sure about that either. The white-haired Sky Official said. Let's talk about the Dark Universe. It is a strange place and there are countless demons living in it. Demons? Abyssal demons? Then the abyss? Someone exclaimed. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had often heard the term abyssal demons when he was in a small world. Later, when he came to the Great Desolate Universe, he often heard it again. However, he did not know where the abyss was. He used to think that it was just a middle world or a starfield. Could it really be the Dark Universe? If you want to talk about the abyss, it's not wrong. The abyss in the rumors refers to the Dark Universe. The white-haired Sky Official said. Chapter 3989. Abyssal Demons. Many people's eyes were solemn. Abyssal demons were a term that many people had heard growing up. It was synonymous with terror. The test this time was to enter the Dark Universe and interact with the abyssal demons. Many people couldn't help but feel nervous. But some people revealed a strong fighting spirit and curiosity. In the primitive universe, there were some races that were said to have the bloodline of the demons. But these races' bloodlines weren't pure at all. They were already considered creatures of the primitive universe. The abyssal demons of the Dark Universe are great enemies of the Heavenly Palace. They have been at war with the Heavenly Palace for many years. Your next test is to enter the Dark Universe and kill the abyssal demons there to obtain merit points from the Heavenly Palace. Only when you have a certain number of merit points will you pass the test. Here I will explain the use of merit points. In the Heavenly Palace, merit points are the most important thing. With merit points you have everything. The white-haired heavenly official explained as the crowd listened quietly. Let me tell you. When you first become a heavenly soldier, the Heavenly Palace will bestow upon you an opportunity that will allow everyone to reap great benefits. Some people will break through their cultivation, some will awaken their origin divine force, some will sever the shackles of their origin secret arts, and so on. The heavenly official continued. Many people's eyes shone with a fiery light. Many of them had heard of this point before. When one first became a heavenly soldier, the heavenly palace would bestow upon them an opportunity that was extremely important. Moreover, when one first becomes a heavenly soldier, the amount of opportunity one receives is also related to merit points. This is because heavenly soldiers are also divided into ranks. Generally, they are divided into 3 ranks. Third-rank heavenly soldiers are the lowest, followed by second-rank heavenly soldiers, then first-rank heavenly soldiers. The ranks of heavenly soldiers are completely based on merit points. When you first become a heavenly soldier, almost all of you are third-rank heavenly soldiers. But if you obtain more merit points during the test, you might become a second-rank heavenly soldier. Then, the reward for becoming a heavenly soldier will be even more amazing. The white-haired heavenly official's words made many people even more excited. In addition, merit points are almost omnipotent in the heavenly palace. You can exchange them for any treasure in the heavenly palace, such as all kinds of magical weapons and armors, all kinds of secret skills, and even the 3,000 ancient secret skills. The white-haired heavenly official continued. Lu Ming was shocked. All kinds of secret techniques and the 3,000 ancient secret techniques were extremely attractive to Lu Ming. It's not just treasures. As long as you have enough merit points, you can even ask the experts of the heavenly palace, or even the Lord of Heaven, to guide you in your cultivation. If you have enemies, you can use your merit points to ask the masters of the heavenly palace to help you deal with them. You can also use your merit points to increase the strength of your forces. The white-haired heavenly official's explanation caused everyone's eyes to burn with passion. Merit points were truly omnipotent. As long as you had enough merit points, you could do anything in the heavenly palace and obtain any treasure. As long as the heavenly palace had it, the heavenly palace would be able to do it. Of course, you needed enough merit points. So, go and earn merit points to your heart's content. Now, come with me to the dark universe. The white-haired heavenly official announced. Following this, the heavenly officials led them out of Dream Sky City and toward a mysterious part of the starry sky. This part of the starry sky did not belong to any race. It was the starry sky guarded by the heavenly palace and directly belonged to the heavenly palace. The crowd followed the heavenly officials and flew for several days before finally arriving at their destination. Seeing the situation in front of them, everyone was tongue-tied and their eyes widened in shock. There was a vast abyss in the starry sky. Yes, an abyss that seemed to have split open the starry sky. The abyss was pitch black and unfathomable. More importantly, it was so large that many stars were like specks of dust compared to it. In fact, there were many stars floating around the abyss. There were hundreds of stars, forming a heavenly cycle stellar array. Countless heavenly soldiers were stationed on these stars. This is the entrance to the dark universe. My Dream Sky Heavenly Palace has stationed countless heavenly soldiers here to prevent the demons from rushing out. In fact, the 5 heavenly palace each guard such an abyss that leads to the dark universe. The white-haired heavenly official said. As they spoke, they flew forward. When they approached, a group of heavenly soldiers flew over. These heavenly soldiers were wearing white armor with all kinds of runes engraved on it. This is the standard armor of the heavenly soldiers. It is said that the lowest level can withstand the full-strength attack of a 9th-layer divine emperor. Ling Yue transmitted her voice to Lu Ming. The heavenly palace is really rich. Lu Ming sighed. Even the lowest level could withstand the full-strength attack of a 9th-layer divine emperor. With so many heavenly soldiers, each of them would be equipped with boundless power. The heavenly official stepped forward and negotiated with the heavenly soldiers. Then the heavenly soldiers led them toward the abyss. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Powerful gusts of wind blew out of the abyss. The group used their divine power to resist and flew into the abyss. There was a powerful suction force in the abyss that drew them down. Deep, it was simply too deep. They fell for an entire day before finally reaching the end. Below them was a vast expanse of land. On this land was an incomparably majestic city. The entire city was pitch black and made of an incomparably tough metal. Countless runes appeared on its surface, forming a great array. Countless experts of the heavenly palace were stationed within the city, as well as the heavenly soldiers. Outside the city was a vast expanse of land that stretched as far as the eye could see. The entire city happened to be right in front of the abyss. They landed on a large plaza in the city. This city belongs to the heavenly palace. Outside the city is the world of the fiends. The dark universe is very strange. It's like a boundless continent. I don't know how big it is. The cultivators of the heavenly palace once explored it, but they couldn't find the end. Countless demons live on this continent. The heavenly official explained. Lord Sky official, how do we earn merit points? Do we just kill the demons? Or do we have to bring back some sort of token? Someone asked. Each fiend has a drop of fiend spirit blood. Kill fiends, collect their spirit blood, and bring it back to the heavenly palace. Naturally, there are ways to calculate merit points. Generally speaking, the stronger a fiend is, the more merit points they obtain, but that's not always the case. It also depends on one's potential. Killing a fiend with great potential or killing a fiend prodigy will give you more merit points. All of this will have to be calculated in the well of merit back in the heavenly palace. The white-haired heavenly official explained. The group nodded, having a general idea. Chapter 3990. This city is called Nantian City because the illusory heavenly palace guards the south of the universe. If you want to go out, you have to go through a special exit. Also, when you go out, you have to go in batches. If you send too many people at once, it will be easy to alarm the demon army. A heavenly soldier in white armor said. That's right. Moreover, outside Nantian City, the territory is extremely vast. These territories are divided into different levels according to the degree of danger. The first level is the safest, and the higher the level, the more dangerous it is. It's best for Divine Emperor Realm people to move around in the second level. Those below the Divine Emperor Realm go to the first level, and those above the Divine Emperor Realm go to the third level. Of course, some top monsters are excluded. You guys choose your area first, and then I'll split you into batches. You guys will go. Immediately, Lu Ming and the others chose different levels of areas. Lu Ming naturally chose the second level area. After everyone had made their choice, the sky official divided them into batches and led them out by the heavenly soldiers. He, Ling Yue, and Dandan were all separated by the sky official and were not in the same batch. Follow me. A heavenly soldier said to a group of people. Then, the heavenly soldier led the group of people who were participating in the assessment and left. After about half a day, another group of heavenly soldiers led a group of people away. 2 days later, it was Lu Ming's group's turn. There were about 500 of them. They were led by a team of heavenly soldiers toward the city gate. Open the formation. When Lu Ming and the others arrived at the city gate, someone immediately shouted. Then, a corner of the array formation covering the city gate opened, and they flew out from this corner of the array formation. Outside the city wall was a boundless continent. At a glance, there was no end in sight. It was vast and boundless. Moreover, the world was no longer filled with dense divine energy, but with all kinds of demonic energy. There was very little divine energy and it was extremely faint. If they consumed too much divine energy, it would be very difficult for them to absorb divine energy from the world to replenish it. They had to absorb it from divine crystals or other treasures. Therefore, they had to prepare enough divine crystals to come here. The second level area I will take you to is called the 8 Snake Mountain Range. It is formed by 8 huge snake-shaped mountain ranges. It is vast and boundless, and there are many powerful demons residing there. However, the highest cultivation of the demons inside will not exceed the Divine Emperor Realm. A heavenly soldier explained. Soon, they flew across the boundless land, and a majestic mountain range appeared before their eyes. The dark universe was different from the primitive universe. The dark universe was like a boundless continent. It was really too big. Just the 8 Snake Mountain Range alone was comparable to the total area of a dozen ordinary life planets. When they arrived, the heavenly soldiers brought them to the ground and retracted their auras. We're already close to the 8 Snake Mountain Range. If we get any closer, we'll be easily discovered by the demons inside. A heavenly soldier said and waved his hand. Go. Some people had already hurriedly flown out and rushed towards the 8 Snakes Mountain Range. As soon as someone made a move, the others followed suit. One figure after another dashed out. Lu Ming also followed the crowd and flew towards a corner of the 8 Snake Mountain Range. Looking from afar, the 8 Snakes Mountain Range looked like it was formed by 8 gigantic snakes. It was simply too huge. 500 of them might seem like a lot, but when they got close to the 8 Snakes Mountain Range, they were completely scattered. Lu Ming rushed into a dense forest. In the forest, ancient trees towered into the sky. However, these trees were filled with dense demonic chi. They were covered with sharp thorns and looked very ferocious. According to the heavenly soldiers, the demons are also in groups. They can form tribes or even kingdoms and set up formations. They are no different from the living beings in the primitive universe. They are extremely intelligent. I can't be too careless, Lu Ming thought. His body was like a gust of wind, flashing constantly. However, Lu Ming had not encountered any demons after running for half an hour in the forest. Just as Lu Ming was puzzled, a strong force suddenly attacked Lu Ming from both sides. Demonic Qi. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he quickly retreated. However, the ground behind him suddenly exploded. A sharp force went straight for Lu Ming's back. Lu Ming did not hesitate. He used his palm like a knife and slashed backward. With a boom, the force was directly destroyed by Lu Ming. Moreover, his palm did not stop and continued to slash forward. With a puff, a tall and burly figure was split into two. Demon? There was a flash in Lu Ming's eyes. He finally saw the other party's appearance clearly. It was a 3-meter-tall creature with a green body and a pair of green demon wings on its back. It had a mouth full of fangs and a ferocious expression. It was exactly the same as the legendary demon. In the primitive universe, some living beings had the bloodline of demons. There were even some cultivation techniques that could condense the image of demons. It was almost the same as this one. A living being from the primitive universe. Kill him and eat him. Roars and howls could be heard. There were at least a dozen demons on his left, right, front, and back. They roared and charged toward Lu Ming. What surprised Lu Ming was that their language was the same as the language of the primitive universe. These demons all looked the same. They had green skin, extended fangs, and a pair of demon wings on their backs. They kept roaring and charging toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming could see that the highest cultivation level of those demons was only the 4th godly emperor layer. Die! Shouted Lu Ming. He instantly used his battle formula to increase his fighting strength by 5 times. At the same time, a demon sword condensed in his hand. That was the Great Demon Sword technique. Lu Ming's Great Demon Sword technique was not yet a beginner. He could use these demons to practice it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The demon sword moved freely and sword gleams burst forth. One by one the demons were killed by Lu Ming, dying on the spot. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen demons were slaughtered by Lu Ming. Following which, Lu Ming's palm and long claws clawed at a demon's heart. A powerful suction force erupted. The next moment, a drop of blood that exuded a strong demonic aura flew out. That was the demon's spirit blood. It was also the place to exchange for points in the heavenly palace. Lu Ming took out a jade bottle and collected the demon's spirit blood. Then he used forbidden strength. The forbidden area was like a silk thread that entered the demon's heart. A moment later, the demon's spirit blood flew out and Lu Ming collected it in the jade bottle. There were 13 drops of demon's spirit blood in total, from the 1st godly emperor layer to the 4th godly emperor layer. Lu Ming didn't know how many points he could exchange for. He had to go to the Well of Merit in the Heavenly Palace to exchange for points. There are so many demons here. It means that there is a demon tribe nearby. I wonder how strong the demon tribe is. Thought Lu Ming, but he wasn't afraid. Now that Lu Ming had used the Bingshen cudgel with all his might, his combat power was comparable to a 9th-level divine emperor. Of course, the Bingshen cudgel would be exhausted after a few moves. However, it could buy Lu Ming time to escape. Therefore, even if Lu Ming encountered cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer, he could escape. Lu Ming could kill cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer. Chapter 3991. There weren't any great supreme gods in the 8 Snakes mountain range, so Lu Ming wasn't worried. Of course, if he met a terrifying genius, he couldn't judge them by their cultivation level. Lu Ming wondered if he should find the evil demon tribe and get rid of them. Let's look for them first. Lu Ming made up his mind. His silhouette flickered as he moved towards the depths of the mountain range. The 8 Snakes mountain range was too big. A person who entered it was like a speck of dust falling into the sea. After that, Lu Ming searched for half an hour, but he didn't see any evil demons. However, Lu Ming's path was blocked by a few other people. A few young men in white clothes. They were from the Angel clan. Muyun, we finally met you. You're really good at running, said one of the young men from the Angel clan coldly. He had a nose like an eagle's. You've been following me? There was a cold gleam in Lu Ming's eyes. Correct. Since we entered the 8 Snakes mountain range, we've been trying to get closer to you. We met a group of evil demons on the way, but luckily we met you. You're not very lucky, said the young man from the Angel clan. Oh, so what do you want? Asked Lu Ming. What do we want? You're not qualified to challenge Prince Gabbert. Of course, we'll help Prince Gabbert get rid of you. After we get rid of you, I'm sure Prince Gabbert will look at us in a new light. said the young men from the angel clan, smiling coldly. The holy light around their bodies became denser and denser. A powerful chi kept moving towards Lu Ming. Behind them, pairs of angel wings stretched out. An 8-winged angel. 3 6-winged angels. As soon as the angelic wings appeared, a vast amount of holy light flooded the area. "Little boy, die," said one of the 6-winged angels. He was holding an angel's sword and charged towards Lu Ming. His pure white sword light swept across the area and turned the trees into dust. That 6-winged angel had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer. "You're just a 6-winged angel of the 3rd godly emperor layer. You overestimate yourself." Lu Ming laughed lightly and punched out. The berserk fist energy directly destroyed his opponent's sword light, causing terror to appear in his opponent's eyes. He felt that the power of Lu Ming's punch was too strong. A 6-winged angel of the angel clan could be regarded as a very powerful genius in the primitive universe. Even in the divine emperor realm, he could fight against a 6-winged angel who was 1 level higher. Cultivators of the 3rd godly emperor layer could fight cultivators of the 4th godly emperor layer. Lu Ming only had the strength of the 1st godly emperor layer. Initially he thought he could easily defeat Lu Ming, but now he realized he had been wrong and now he was going to die. With a loud boom, the 6-winged angel's body exploded, sending feathers flying everywhere. The remaining 3 angels were dumbfounded. "Brat, how dare you kill a prodigy of the angel race? You're courting death." "You are courting death," shouted the 3 remaining angels furiously. They took out their angel swords and charged towards Lu Ming. 2 of them had the strength of the 4th godly emperor layer, and 1 had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer. The one with the aquiline nose was an 8-winged angel. He had the strength of the 4th godly emperor layer. An 8-winged angel of the godly emperor layer could fight against a 6-winged angel who was 2 levels higher than him. It had to be said that the angels were terrifyingly talented. They were much more talented than the other races. Ordinary 2-winged angels and 4-winged angels couldn't fight against a 6-winged angel of the godly emperor layer, but at the same level they were almost invincible. 6-winged angels of the godly emperor layer could fight against a 6-winged angel of the godly emperor layer. It should be known that there were quite a few 6-winged angels among the angels. An 8-winged angel of the 4th godly emperor layer was as strong as an ordinary cultivator of the 6th godly emperor layer. That kind of fighting strength could easily kill a cultivator of the 1st godly emperor layer. Of course that was what they thought. "So what if you're an angel? Kill," Lu Ming said coldly. The battle incantation had been successfully triggered to increase his combat power by 6 times. The Great Divine Wind Technique and the Great Shattering Technique were cast. They converged into an unparalleled force that crushed toward the 3 young angels. 2 miserable screams rang out. 2 of the angels simply couldn't resist Lu Ming's attack. They were directly blown apart, dying on the spot. The hawk-nosed young man of the angel clan was shaken. He coughed up blood and retreated. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. How is this possible? Other than shock, there was only horror in his eyes. He was deeply shocked by Lu Ming's battle prowess. This was because he realized that Lu Ming did not use any powerful weapons, nor did he rely on any external forces. He was completely relying on his own combat strength. A cultivator of the 1st godly emperor layer had managed to injure him in 1 strike. He had the strength of the 6th godly emperor layer. That kind of fighting strength was incredible. Even Gabbert couldn't compete with Lu Ming at the same level. No, he had to report this to Gabbert. Therefore, without hesitation, he turned around and ran away, his 8 wings flapping furiously. "Do you think you can escape?" said Lu Ming coldly. His silhouette flickered like a ghost, and in a flash he caught up with the hawk-nosed young man from the angel clan. A terrifying strength bombarded the young man from the angel clan. "You want to kill me? No way. Angel feather," shouted the hawk-nosed young man furiously. He opened his mouth and spat out a feather. This feather was an angel's feather. It was shed by a powerful angel, and could be considered a powerful treasure. However, it wasn't a powerful weapon. There were countless treasures in the angel clan, but not all of them could use them. In fact, there were very few who could use them. That feather could make the young man from the angel clan explosively stronger, but there was a limit. Boom, boom. Lu Ming's fist collided with the feather a dozen times. In the end, the feather couldn't block Lu Ming's attack and was blown away. Then, the 4 gravity pearls in Lu Ming's hands flew out and pressed down on the hook-nosed young man. The hook-nosed young man screamed miserably and his body fell to the ground like a meteorite. Lu Ming seized the opportunity and rushed over. His palm was like a knife, cleaving the hook-nosed young man into two. The 4 young men from the Angel clan had wanted to kill Lu Ming, but in the end, Lu Ming had killed them all. Lu Ming took the 4 young men's rings and scanned them with his spiritual awareness. Then he took out a few jade bottles filled with demon blood. There were a dozen drops. Lu Ming didn't hesitate to take them. As for the other weapons, he gave them to Qiu. Just as Lu Ming was about to leave, all of a sudden, there were terrifying whistling sounds coming from all directions. Lu Ming had goosebumps all over his skin. Gravity Pearl. Lu Ming controlled the gravity pearl with all his strength and set up a powerful gravity field within 100 miles. 6. Chapter 3992. Lu Ming used the gravity pearl to shroud the area within a radius of 100 miles under the powerful gravity. In the next moment, a few spears broke through the range of the gravity shroud. Slash, slash. After the long spear broke through the area shrouded by gravity, there was a violent sound of friction. Sparks flew and its speed slowed down a little. However, it was not pressed to the ground. Instead, it continued to stab toward Lu Ming. Their speed was astonishing. In the blink of an eye, they crossed 100 li. Lu Ming clenched his fists and punched continuously, colliding with a few long spears. Rumbling sounds spread in the air. Lu Ming's body shook and he was pushed back. The spears exploded and turned into pieces. What a terrifying strength. Lu Ming was stupefied. The spears had come from 10,000 li away, but they had still managed to push Lu Ming back after using 4 gravity pearls. One could imagine how strong they were. Ordinary cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer couldn't do that. That was equivalent to the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer. In the distance, the sound of breaking wind spread in the air. Then a large number of silhouettes flew over. Demons, a large number of demons. One by one, the demons spread their demonic wings and charged toward Lu Ming with a strong demonic aura. They're from the ancient desolate universe. Kill him. The evil demons roared like thunder. It seems like the battle a moment ago has alarmed these demons. Could it be that they're from a nearby tribe? Lu Ming smiled indifferently. He didn't panic at all. He could already sense that the strongest demon had the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer. There were 4 cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer. The others were all below the 7th godly emperor layer. There were about 200 of them. He had decided to kill all of them. Those were all merit points. With enough merit points he could turn them into all kinds of treasures, all kinds of secret techniques, and even the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. Therefore in Lu Ming's eyes, those demons turned into all kinds of treasures. The demons came very quickly. In the blink of an eye they arrived near Lu Ming. The 4 demons who had the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer were the fastest. They smiled cruelly and attacked Lu Ming with their claws. I'll send you on your way. A round bead appeared in Lu Ming's hand. It was the gale bead. Ooh! A violent gale swept out from the zephyr bead. The 4 powerful evil demons were the first to be swept into the gale. 4 demons of the 7th godly emperor layer gave horrible shrieks as they were cut into pieces by the strong wind. The remaining demons were scared out of their wits, and their bodies that were originally charging forward could not help but stop. From their point of view, the 4 powerful leaders had died in an instant. It was too terrifying. Let's go, let's go. Retreat. The other demons roared, wanting to retreat and escape. Demons also know fear, but it's too late for you to retreat now. Lu Ming continued controlling the zephyr bead. A strong wind whistled as it swept out. In a few breaths, more than 200 demons were swept away by the strong wind, and then Lu Ming killed them. Lu Ming didn't show any mercy. Demons of the deep abyss were evil and cruel. Killing them was like getting rid of evil. However, Lu Ming controlled himself very well. He only killed the demons, but he didn't destroy their hearts because Lu Ming needed their blood. After a short time, the 200 demons were all killed by the strong wind. Afterward, Lu Ming manipulated the forbidden power to draw out the demon spirit blood of all the demons. In the dark universe, there are countless demons, and the heavenly palace is guarding the entrances of the deep abyss. Could it be that they're doing it for the sake of the common people? It seems like the heavenly palace isn't that bad after all, whispered Lu Ming. In fact, Lu Ming had this question since he entered the dark universe. From the look of it, the heavenly palaces were guarding the entrance to the dark universe, fighting the fiend devils and protecting the Your Wilds universe. They were completely on the side of justice. But why were there so many forces against them, such as the dragon race, the Tang family of Xianyanqing's previous life, and Flying Phoenix? Boy, if you think the Heavenly Palace is guarding the entrances of the Dark Universe for the sake of the living beings of the universe, then you're wrong. The Heavenly Palace is doing it for themselves. Bone Demon's voice was full of disdain. Bone Demon, what do you know? Tell me about it, asked Lu Ming quickly. It's too early to tell you now. Besides, I don't know much. I've only heard some rumors. If you want to know the details, you'll have to ask those forbidden existences such as Flying Phoenix of the dragon race's mother planet Ao Qian, and that Tang guy, said Bone Demon. It's a secret again. Lu Ming was speechless, but since Bone Demon didn't want to tell him, he didn't bother to ask. This should be a member of the evil demon tribe. A evil demon tribe shouldn't have this many people. I should have left one alive to find out more about the situation. Lu Ming was annoyed. After keeping the evil demon spirit blood, he left in a flash. Lu Ming searched the vicinity. Not long after, he really found a demon tribe. It was a city built with huge stones. It looked very simple and couldn't be compared to the buildings in the chaotic universe. From afar, he could see many evil demons flying around in the city. There were also some evil demons patrolling outside the city. Lu Ming secretly caught a few evil demons and interrogated them. These evil demons were also living beings and were afraid of death. After being interrogated by Lu Ming, they told him the truth. Not only did they tell him about the tribe, but they also told him about the 8 Snake Mountain Range. In the 8 Snake Mountain Range, there were a total of 1325 ordinary tribes and 108 large-scale tribes. But all the tribes were ruled by a kingdom of evil demons. That kingdom was called the 8 Snake Evil Demon Kingdom. Its capital was at the center of the 8 Snake Mountain Range. There were many strong cultivators, and many of them had the strength of the 9th Godly Emperor layer. The strongest evil demon tribe in front of Lin Yun had the strength of the 8th Godly Emperor layer. It was an ordinary tribe. I wouldn't have thought that the 8 Snake Mountain Range would have so many strong evil demons. And it's only a level 2 area. I wonder how many terrifying evil demons there are in the Dark Universe, thought Lu Ming. Obviously, Lu Ming could not afford to offend the demon empire of the 8 Snakes. There were many powerful 9th level divine emperors in the empire. Given Lu Ming's current combat capability, he would definitely die if he were to face 2 9th level divine emperors at the same time. However, Lu Ming was able to deal with these ordinary and large tribes. After understanding the strength of the evil demon tribe, Lu Ming went straight in. Very quickly, the ordinary tribe was destroyed. Chapter 3993. After keeping all the evil demon spirit blood, Lu Ming left this place and headed towards the depths of 8 Snake Mountain Range. 8 Snake Mountain Range was formed by the intersection of 8 huge snake-shaped mountain ranges. At the center, where the 8 snakes converged, it was the largest and also the most central place. The surroundings were the ends of 8 Snake Mountain Range. Lu Ming and the rest had entered from these ends. Lu Ming was now at the end of a mountain range. The deeper he went, the more evil demon tribes there were. Time flew, and more than 10 days had passed in the blink of an eye. In these 10 days, Lu Ming had been hunting evil demons. With the great killing weapon in his hand, Lu Ming had been successful in every endeavor. Evil demons died in his hands one after another, and the amount of evil demon spirit blood in Lu Ming's hands was increasing. However, while they were hunting evil demons, the evil demons were also hunting them. Along the way, Lu Ming also saw people who came to participate in the assessment being torn apart by the evil demons and becoming their food. On this day, when Lu Ming was moving forward, he suddenly encountered a person who was fleeing rapidly. It's her. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. This person was Hua Shui of the elf race. However, the current Hua Shui was in a very sorry state. Her body was covered in wounds and she had suffered serious injuries. Swoosh. Behind Hua Shui, 2 figures were chasing after her rapidly. Angel race. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Little girl from the elf race, you can't run away. Surrender obediently and serve us well. We can give you a quick death. One of the young men from the angel race sneered. His speed was very fast. With 8 wings on his back, he chased after Hua Shui like a stream of light. You angel race are despicable, Hua Shui gritted her teeth and flew with all her might. However, her serious injuries had seriously affected her speed. The 2 young men from the angel race were constantly closing the distance between them. Lu Ming directly flew towards Hua Shui. As soon as Lu Ming flew over, Hua Shui discovered Lu Ming. Mu Yun, Surprise flashed in Hua Shue's eyes. He knew how powerful Lu Ming was. He knew that Lu Ming had a great weapon of mass destruction in his hands. If he met Lu Ming, he might be saved. It's Mu Yun. Very good. I was just about to look for him and he came to me on his own accord. Let's get rid of him together. The two angels were overjoyed as well. They rushed towards Lu Ming. Their powerful auras locked onto Lu Ming. Hua Shui landed beside Lu Ming, gasping for breath. Are you okay? Lu Ming said calmly. Those two young geniuses had the strength of the fourth godly emperor layer, and they were 8-winged angels. They had the strength of the 6th godly emperor layer. Lu Ming didn't care about them. I'm fine, but the princess is trapped by them, Hua Shui said. Ling Yue. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Die brat. One of the young angels charged towards Lu Ming. His angelic sword slashed towards Lu Ming's head. Boom. Lu Ming threw a punch and collided with the angelic sword. Multicolored light filled the sky, and the young angel quickly retreated. Bus, bus, bus. For gravity pearls vibrated and flew out. The powerful gravity enveloped the two young angels. After that, Lu Ming attacked with all his strength. Boom, boom. There were continuous explosions and roars, and then there were 2 screams. Calm was restored, but there were 2 more corpses on the ground. The 2 8-winged angels had been killed by Lu Ming. Their interspatial rings also fell into Lu Ming's hands. On the side, Hua Shui was dumbfounded. She knew that Lu Ming was very strong. If he used his ultimate weapon, he would definitely be able to kill the 2 of them. However, Lu Ming hadn't used his ultimate weapon just now. Without using his ultimate weapon, he had killed 2 young geniuses of the angel clan. Hua Shui's heart twitched a few times. Where's Ling Yue? Lead the way. Lu Ming said. Mu Yun, among the people who are dealing with the princess, there are top geniuses of the angel clan. They are extremely strong and they also have terrifying divine weapons. Even if you go, you might not be a match for them. Hua Shui's expression changed. Lu Ming had already expected this. Ling Yue was now at the peak of the 2nd layer of the Divine Emperor realm. After her talent evolved, her battle strength was astonishing. Coupled with the Elven King Bao that was stained with blood, her strength was extremely terrifying. Those who could deal with her were definitely not weak. However, Lu Ming couldn't leave her in the lurch. I know, just lead the way. Lu Ming's face darkened slightly, and his tone became more serious. For some reason, Hua Shui's heart trembled. Facing Lu Ming's tone, she actually didn't dare to refute, as if she had met an elder. Alright, I'll take you there. This way. In the end, Hua Shui brought Lu Ming in a certain direction. As they flew, Hua Shui introduced, we were originally fighting with a group of demons, but those angels were so despicable. Taking advantage of our battle with the angels, they took the opportunity to attack us. Not only did they steal our demon spirit blood, they also took the opportunity to attack the princess. The princess was caught off guard and was injured. In the end, the princess used all her strength to stall the opponent, allowing me to break through and seek help. If I hadn't met you, I would have been in danger. Hua Shui gave a simple introduction, and Lu Ming roughly understood what was going on. A moment later, they approached a cliff. It's right in front. The princess is relying on the cliff to block the opponent. Hua Shui whispered to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded, restrained his aura, and quietly approached Hua Shui. After approaching, he quietly looked forward. In front of him, there was a huge cliff. The cliff was tens of thousands of feet tall and was very smooth, like a piece of smooth metal. At the bottom of the cliff, Ling Yue held the Elven King's bow that was stained with blood. Behind her, a towering tree appeared. Rich life essence was constantly injected into the Elven King's bow, condensing into an arrow that was aimed forward. In front of Ling Yue, a group of angel race geniuses formed a semicircle and surrounded Ling Yue. However, these angel race geniuses seemed to be very afraid of Ling Yue's arrows. They only surrounded her from afar, not daring to approach. Ling Yue, it's better for you to surrender and seal your own cultivation. In the future, you will obediently come with us to see young Master Gabbert. Today, other than this path, you have no other choice. An angel race genius said coldly. Don't even think about it. Despicable and shameless things, I have nothing to do with Gabbert. I would rather die than seal my cultivation to see him. Ling Yue said coldly, but her face was somewhat pale. It was obvious that she was injured. Her gaze was very serious as she scanned the bodies of 2 of the angel race's geniuses. These 2 angel race's geniuses, a man and a woman, stood quietly in 2 different directions. They didn't speak, but the auras on their bodies were incomparably terrifying. There were more than a dozen young angel race men and women present. However, only these two people caused Ling Yue to fear them. These two people were both 10-winged angels. Their cultivations were profound and their battle prowess was powerful. Most importantly, the two of them also possessed terrifying killing weapons. When they exploded, their power was astonishing. They were not inferior to the Elven King's bow that was stained with blood. It was because of these two people that she found it difficult to break out of the encirclement. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.